Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 161. I'm Steve Crane. I got Nate Hale at the table. I got a couple of guests in the garage as well. We might have some people joining us for part 2 tonight, which is going to be more about some audience participation. We had some topics go up on the community page on Facebook. We had some ideas as well, but wanted to see if we could bring in some of the audience as well. So if you guys have any topic ideas, any questions, things you want us to address in part 2, just throw them up in the comment feed and we will try to get to as many as we can. Other than that, we've got a couple of newer releases. We got the Old Tub, which we're going to be drinking tonight from Jim Beam. And that's been all the rage on some of the boards and some of the ratings and all over Ohio, among other places. And we've got the Punch Kung Pow for our featured cigar tonight. So I want to thank Tinder Box at Easton for the Punch Kung Pow. They're in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out. No special on the Kung Pow, and there's a reason for that because of the price point. So we'll talk about that as we get into it. But it is available, so definitely check it out at Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Also, Altadis USA. We've got the H. Upman Nicaragua by AJ Fernandez. They collaborated with AJ on that one. It's one of our, I'd say, stable cigars at the Tinder Box. I mean, it's flies off the shelf. It's medium bodied. We've enjoyed that cigar a great deal, and obviously Upman brand is a very trusted brand name from Altadis USA. So thank you very much, Josh Bentley and everyone else at Altadis for the sponsorship there. And then also BS Cigar Company. I got another prototype on for the BS Cigar Company. I don't know if these will ever see the light of day. It's kind of a throwback retro 80s 90s style t-shirt ringer. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sean said he liked it.
I know sometimes when you wear some of those one-off shirts you did, there's quite a few people in the shop that like want that shirt.
They're like, why don't you sell that one? I don't know. Maybe we will. And also patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. That's where you guys can contribute. And we appreciate all the support. It helps us do the technology side of it. It gives us a little bit of whiskey budget as well, which I do owe you a little bit for this bottle here, Nate. So thank you for bringing that. Again, a very budget-friendly bottle there, so that's always good.
You know me.
That's right. That's right. Anything I'm forgetting? I don't think so. I think that's about
Patreon?
it. I just did.
Oh, you put it on the banner. Okay.
Yeah, I talked. Not paying attention. What else? Oh, yeah, there's $5 here, $10 here, and $25 here. So anything you guys want to do for that, we really appreciate it. You can even put a $1 in there.
Don't we have some raffle prizes coming up?
We do, and let's do that this next week. I'm not prepared. Maybe we'll do it in part 2. I'll pull up the list and we'll just do a random. I'll ask you guys to throw out a number and we'll just give away our first raffle prize in part 2. We'll set that up during the intermission. How about that?
There we go.
There we go. Let's get on it. Enough's enough. Let's get after it, right? You know,
they don't have to be present to win, do they?
No, that's 2 people. We'll figure it out.
Do they have to be listening to win?
No, you don't. The support is there, so we appreciate that. Everyone's busy. I got a lot of sun this weekend, and I'm loving it.
It was nice. It was a gorgeous weekend.
Fucking loving it. I had Shannon and Sean. They came by the house Monday, was it? And broke in the patio. Sorry, you kind of impromptu. Nate didn't make it over, but
that's okay.
We had a good time. So
I sat on my patio.
There you go.
Not as nice as yours, but I sat there.
It's all right. All right, so let's dive into the bottle for part 1. If you guys are listening for the first time, part 1 is the whiskey and cigar review, a little bit about both of them, and then also some honest feedback on them. And sometimes we can even bring in the audience as well. If you guys have had it, if you're listening live or from I got the 2 guys in the garage, Sean and Shannon are out there, and they are also smoking the Kung Pow. I don't know if they've got any of the whiskey, but that might change. See. So yeah, Nate, Old Tub, Jim Beam. This is all the rage.
Yeah. So previously.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah. Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
So Old Tub is actually one of the oldest products that Jim Beam made.
Yeah.
It was Jim and his brother Park, I believe it was. I have to refresh my memory. So this is kind of in honor of that old recipe that they used to use. It's 12% malted barley, 13% rye, 75% corn. So definitely
I can taste that.
Can you? Yeah. It's funny because this is actually the second bottle that I've had, and it actually tastes a little bit different this time around than the first time that I tasted it. So previously, this was only available in uh, pints at the gift shop at the distillery.
Okay.
So 375 ml bottle, you had to go down to, was it Claremont or what was that? Yeah, Claremont, Kentucky. You had to go to their gift shop in order to be able to pick this up. And then they started releasing it in regular size fifths June 2020. So this has been around for less than a year. And because it was so popular, it was the hot new thing when it first came out last year. People that lived in states that are not price regulated, like the state of Ohio, you were finding this bottle anywhere between $50 and $100 for this bottle.
Secondary, right?
No, that was at liquor stores.
Oh,
that was at
okay.
At liquor stores that were not regulated like Ohio is. There were stores that were charging $50 upwards of $100 for this bottle. In the state of Ohio, $21.99. Currently in the state of Ohio, this is a $22 bottle.
That's awesome.
It is bottled in bond, so it's not age stated, but it does say bottled in bond on the label, so it's at least 4 years old. It is bottled at 100 proof, and unlike a lot of the Jim Beam products that are 100 proof or lower, this is non-chill filtered, and they do at least screen it to get out any of the wood chips or charcoal, stuff like that. But it's unfiltered. So like if you were to add, they actually tell you if you were to add ice to this, you'll actually see the whiskey kind of turn hazy in the glass from the interaction with everything going on.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
I
didn't know you were done.
No.
I'm just trying to stop talking.
I remember when we first shared some, or like we each had our own bottle, and we had just gotten it, and we started talking about it, and I remember you and I were looking at each other like, yeah, there's something about that finish, and I was like, yeah, the finish is very brash.
It is a little bit. When you said it was 75% corn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no expert, but I think that kind of has something to do with it. I feel like it's corn heavy on the end.
I get more corn up front, because
of sweetness.
Yeah,
I got you.
I get more sweetness from this up front. There is some that lingers in the back, but for me, the finish, I get a lot of that rye spice.
Yeah,
and so it's got a decent length finish to it. But it just kind of holds that spice on your palate for a while.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of that spice.
Sean, you want a nip?
He's standing by wanting that.
Well, why didn't you bring Shannon's glass over here?
You upset Dad.
Sorry, Father, I'll go back to my closet.
It is a little brash. I mean, it's got a little bit of burn to it. It's good though.
It is. I
think it's a fascination for call it a $21 bottle, right? You said
$21.99.
So $21.99. I mean, it's a good bottle for that. It's not like a mixer or anything like that. I think it'd be good in a cocktail, like an old fashioned or some of the other whiskey cocktails, bourbon cocktails that are out there that are really, really popular right now.
I think the proof would stand up to some of those additives for an old fashioned, and I think with like the simple syrup or bitters and stuff like that, it will balance out that finish that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But this is one of the lower priced bottled in bonds that you're going to find in the state of Ohio, which makes sense because they have to sit on it for at least 4 years, and it's bottled at 100 proof. So instead of 80, obviously you're going to get less bottles of it per barrel. So to come in at $22, then again, it's one of the big boys. They can do that.
Yeah, they can. I mean, I think it's a nicer pour. Freddie Burt says it makes a good whiskey sour. See that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, compared to say your normal just Jim Beam straight up, it's definitely a enjoyable, neat. It says robust flavor on here, and I think that's what they're getting at with it being a little bit brash, like we're talking about.
Mm.
You know, it's a lot of flavor. It's got a lot of that linger there, man. That's
It does.
yeah. You guys getting that? Yeah.
On their website, they actually say you're going to get more oak and grain notes from this, and a lot less fruit or sweetness out of it.
For sure.
And that finish, I think, is that rye spice and then that oak. Those two together, I think that's what dominates.
Did you read the back of this or no?
I read it.
You didn't read it on this though.
No.
Jim Beam's Old Tub is a bottled and bond Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Just like the original Old Tub, it has not been carbon or chill filtered, only quality screened to remove bits of barrel wood. It's nice of them.
Thank you.
It's the next best thing to thieving the barrel yourself. You may notice some haziness when you add ice. Think of it as an indicator of the true full flavor of this bourbon. Kind of want to throw an ice cube in there.
Well, you got the freezer right there. So.
Yeah, there's no ice in that one, but yeah, if you want to just grab a glass of ice, Shannon, that'd be amazing just to see what they're talking about.
I don't know why that does that.
I don't either. That's the new Facebook. Yeah, I see Nate Hale is watching like 18 times on my screen.
I'm not even doing anything.
It's a proximity thing or what? So what else? Who else? Ian says it's a hazy shade of the last year, so why not be a hazy whiskey? That's accurate and also depressing.
Well, they were making this before 2020, Ian, so it just wasn't available in this size bottle until 2020. But I do remember when this first came out, like this was one of those bottles that bourbon hunters were waiting in line for.
It got highly rated. I forget in which magazine, but it was like one of the top ones. Was it Advocate?
I don't remember seeing any ratings on it.
I'll look it up here while we get into this a little bit more.
But yeah, I mean, so other than the mash bill being a little different for a lot of what Jim Beam does, the biggest difference is that they're not doing that charcoal or chill filtering to it. Most of their stuff, as I said earlier, if it's under 100 proof, they're going to do that for their products. So this one, and I think it's more so that way they can go back to that old school style.
Yeah.
Because they probably weren't doing a whole lot of charcoal or chill filtering back in 1892 when the brothers were coming up with this. So it may just be, I think one review I saw about it is like, closest thing you're going to get to thieving from the barrel.
They were stuck together. I didn't want that one. Fuck you, Shannon.
Steve's picky about his ice.
Well, I just wanted to add a little bit of ice. I didn't want like a whole thing. You want some?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Shannon's head's always on a swivel. That's good. Ryan Jones asks, is it better than Evan Williams?
That's a tough one.
Toss up.
Because it's funny, Ryan. I'm glad you asked that. Because when I was talking to Steve before the podcast, I was saying at first I thought that this was going to be the cheapest bottled and bond in Ohio, and then within seconds after saying that, I remembered Evan Williams because that's $18 bottle, so $4 cheaper than this one. I think this one's a little sweeter than Evan Williams, but they both have their merits.
Right.
They're both good bottles. They're both different.
First glass, I'm going to request that you put one of the small ice cubes in there.
Okay.
I know. Sorry.
Yes, Dad.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's as you would imagine, it definitely kind of like mellows out some of that heat or burn. Or at least that's what I think.
Old Granddad, bottled and bond, that's going to be around the same price point, I think. Yeah.
Ian says, hey, whatever it takes to get to June. News said June. I assume he's talking about all the mandates and everything being lifted. Yeah, here in Ohio, it was basically legislation went through that they're going to be able to veto DeWine's veto and take away his power on the health mandates. Yeah. Nuh-uh.
It's called an override.
Override. Punch Kung Pow is what we're smoking with this. This one, first off, it's very interesting in a lot of aspects. It's a 5-country blend. So it's got a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper on it. but the wrapper, even, it's an exposed foot or a shaggy foot. We did this thing at one of our events where to kind of tell the difference. We did it with when Josh Bentley was at the time with Oliva. We did it with an Oliva, I think, G Maduro,
Okay.
which is a broadleaf as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he used, just a little razor to cut, kind of the way this cigar started, where
It's got about a half
leaf.
inch.
You cut
the
cut the wrapper leaf, yeah, and so then it has just the binder exposed, and it's kind of a way. And this is interesting because this cigar, I think, does it by design. Is that when you light the cigar with just the binder leaf around the filler, once it hits the wrapper, you can taste the change.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And people don't really. I think it's almost a good exercise for people to be able to try this and see how much flavor in a blend or a recipe on this that it will every aspect builds into it. So yeah. So Shannon says this is the first time he's ever seen it.
I've seen a lot of cigars that have that shaggy foot to it, but not half inch of a shaggy foot.
Yeah, it doesn't light as well for whatever reason. With the exposed foot, I didn't think this one lit as well.
Mine was fine. I've smoked a few of these, and that first part lit up just fine. I think it burns a little fast, that first part of the foot, because you don't have any wrapper there that's being burned. But yeah, you can definitely taste the difference as soon as it hits that wrapper. It reminded me to an event I went to. It was a guy who was blending for EP Carrillo at the time, Jose Blanco. It was a tasting event, and it was a cigar that he had rolled that actually had 5 different wrappers on the cigar.
Oh yeah.
And and if you're someone who's actually smoked a lot of cigars and you have a palate for it, you could tell every single time that cigar hit that new wrapper, the flavor completely changed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it kind of goes down to that recipe, right?
Yeah.
And how every piece of tobacco, how you can change it with just one change of a filler leaf, or obviously the wrapper would be a big one. So yes, Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Honduran Habano binder, and then the filler actually comes from Honduras and Dominican, but also Mexico and Brazil.
Wow.
So wait, is that how many is it? 1,
6?
2. No, because Honduras is twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5.
Okay.
Yeah, Connecticut, you got Honduras, Brazil, Dominican, and Mexico.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 countries. And so the MSRP on this is $5.99 only, though, which is crazy. Yeah. So when we get it in, we're thinking, $6 cigar. Is it going to be short filler? Is it going to be, something that just burns up quickly? Everyone's been pleasantly surprised with this one.
So what with the tobacco tax is what, about $6.95?
$6.50 on our shelf.
$6.50.
Yeah.
So probably the reason why there's not a discount on that cigar for the next week.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not really going to save you much on this one. So
yeah,
figured it's kind of a budget friendly, just like the bottle is budget friendly. This is a part of a trilogy so far, but they're doing this with the Chinese New Year, where you have people like Davidoff in the cigar world. They're doing like these really high-end Year of the Rat, so this is the Year of the Ox. And they had the Punch Egg Roll in 2019 and Punch Chop Suey in 2020. So this is the 2021 release, and it comes in looks like I'm not kidding, a Chinese restaurant takeout foil container with a little, piece of paper.
Yeah, kind of like they fold
top
over the lid.
Yeah, and then they fold over the lid, and it's cute. I get it. Terrible to stack. Terrible to stack. Just like if you were carrying food out from, you had a bunch of trays and they're kind of sinking into each other. Yeah, it doesn't really sit real well, but it's good marketing. Punch is really, and General Cigars is really pushing a lot of this stuff with Punch. So they've had a couple different turns with like the Diablo is a little bit higher end for them. And then you had the Knuckle Buster, which was kind of back in this like kind of like what they consider like a blue collar style of a cigar. And then you have stuff like this coming out at $6. From my understanding, it is long filler, but I will say that the ash is a little flaky.
Yeah.
I would not smoke this one in my car. No, because like, I don't want it to fall on the seats, the interior, on your pants, and all that stuff.
Like I can see the, about 1/4 inch ash that I have. Like I can see that ash starting to crack and expand out.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell it's wanting to fall off.
Yeah, it's a little flaky. Like I'm getting like these little shots off of there. But it is yeah, and Ryan Jones, I think the band has a fortune thing on the back. I don't know. Fortune thing, but it does. So I don't know if everyone's is the same, but everyone take their bands off here. Mine says, life is short. Smile while you still have teeth. Which is good advice.
I like mine. The only bad taco is the one you didn't eat. Shane. So Shane and I have the same one. Sean and Steve have the same one.
You guys are just going to go get fat together. And we're going to brush our teeth more. I'm gonna tell Molly that I told you that. So she'll hold you accountable.
Very much so.
Yeah, so I'm liking the cigar. I was really pleasantly surprised when I smoked this one. I've had the others, the chop suey and the egg roll. This is by far of the trilogy so far is my favorite.
I
and
agree.
Again, for $6.50, it's not a bad cigar. I mean, it's
it is a good smoke. I mean, it's definitely a budget friendly stick, but which sometimes can carry a bad reputation when you think budget friendly stick.
Right.
But like this is a cigar that it smokes well enough and has a good enough flavor that it could easily be an $8 or $9 stick.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're getting it at under $7 for the Toro, do they only do the Toro size?
One size.
They do the
and
one
it's
size.
It's limited
Okay.
production as well. I think it's 4,500 boxes or something like that. Let me look it up here.
Trays.
Yeah, boxes or trays. Yeah, to go orders.
Yeah, I mean,
4,500 boxes of 20.
All right, so under $7 for a limited production cigar that has good flavor to it.
Yeah,
you know, I like the blend because typically when I smoke something that has a Connecticut broadleaf, I tend to get a little bit of dryness in the palate.
Really?
And this one doesn't do that. Like I think I attribute that to the other tobaccos that are in that. I like that they have that Habano binder in there because I do like Habano tobacco. The Habano that they use in that Punch Knuckle Buster has really good flavor.
Yeah.
So I think having that blend does help balance out the cigar. You still get a little bit of pop with it with the that Brazilian tobacco that's in there, but then you got some Dominican to help smooth it out, the Habano for some flavor, and then of course that broadleaf is going to have a lot of flavor to it. But I think all those tobaccos are contributing to that cigar and making it a well-rounded stick.
There you go. That's a good description. I'd say, yeah, absolutely. And again, for the price point, it's ridiculous. It's not the prettiest cigar, I'll say that.
No,
it's not the prettiest cigar, which you wouldn't expect for that price point.
They're shipping it in a foil tin, basically. Right. You don't sit there and skimp on packaging for a $20 stick.
Which is why I'm just it's not, as I said, the prettiest cigar, but it smokes really well. Mm. And I said construction, the draw is good. But I would say that it like I said, reiterate, it is flaky ash. So again, at the price point, I'm not disappointed. The flavor that Nate described, I think, is pretty spot on. I think that's definitely a well-rounded cigar. The retrohale, I think, builds a little bit as you get through it a little.
Well, what do you think in terms of the strength of the cigar? Like, what would you put
I'd
it
say
at?
medium plus. I mean, some people might think it's a little bit stronger than that, like medium full, but I think it's on the higher side of medium. What do you think?
Definitely at least a medium. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't put it much higher than that. I mean, medium plus, maybe. I mean, but yeah, it's not overpowering whatsoever. It's kind of that middle ground where people that like lighter cigars, like they should still be able to handle this type of smoke.
Really?
And then people that like stronger cigars, like if they want to start out their day with something not full body and blow their palate off, like this isn't a bad option either.
It's interesting. I am going to I see what you're saying. I mild guy, nope. I would not recommend this to a mild smoker.
Okay.
Just because of that retrohale and the there is a little bit of that dryness, like the brash. It's like if they're expecting a Dominican, like a Griffin's.
Oh no.
That's a mild smoker to me.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm thinking, like that's why. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I think for
If
me,
someone
that's why I
likes to
think
be-
I look at it as more of like that medium plus or medium to full, because a mild smoke, like if you're just straight mild smoker, you're smoking, Magneto Cafe or Griffins or Monte Cristo Classics or Ashton Classics. This is
I think someone who maybe likes Butera
that's pushing, yeah, because that's more mild to medium. I
or
think, yeah.
San Cristobal Elegancia.
Again, pushing up there. Espinosa Crema's pushing up there. You know what I mean? Those are mild for those makers, but I think we're kind of on the same page. But I'm like, yeah, morning smoke for a Griffin smoker or something. I'm like, no.
No.
Like, what do you think about this? No, nope.
For
nope.
someone who's a Griffin or a Monte Cristo Classic, like this would be maybe end of the day after you've eaten, possibly
A huge steak.
Well,
Which
you would know about that.
You would too.
My steaks are little fillets. You're the one that's sitting
We
there.
had a fillet on our steak.
Yeah, you're the one. Yeah. Three T-bones for 5.5 pounds.
And then the two that Shannon bought. Yeah.
I'm sitting there cooking up fillets that Hockey Dan cut up for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly how we shopped that day.
What's on sale?
It was on sale and they were all just gigantic, and they actually were good cuts.
So this would have been a good cigar and whiskey for that night, because
Yeah.
the steaks were on sale. You got an inexpensive bottle of bourbon, and you got an inexpensive cigar,
That's right.
all with a lot of flavor.
That's exactly right. It was a good night. It's a good night. Yeah, Ian says Porterhouse, baby, only way to go. I'm with you. Ray's on here from Vietnam. He forgot about the time change. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, Vietnam. Yeah, let's get to the pairing here.
Did you want to talk back about the whiskey after having the ice in it?
I kind of said a little bit. What do you think?
For me, it lightened up that finish,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden it added kind of this butterscotch
Yep.
or caramel element to it.
Yep.
That's
Yep. I didn't want to say anything.
good call, Steve.
I think it definitely
Yeah, that was
it bumps it up as far as the enjoyable aspects of it. I think as a sipper, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it really smooths it out. Yeah, just one ice cube.
you still get some sweetness to it, but it definitely levels out that finish.
Yeah,
And yeah, so if you're
creamier
someone,
and all that stuff. Yeah,
so if you're someone who, the first time you have this neat, you're not a huge fan of it, throw an ice cube in
just
there.
one small
Just
ice
one,
cube.
yeah.
Or maybe a splash of water. We didn't do the splash of water, but the ice cube. I wanted to see. I didn't see the whole haziness thing happen in my glass though that they kept talking about. I don't know. Maybe I have to have like a filtered ice cube, and I don't think mine's filtered.
Well, I mean,
It might be. I don't think so.
I mean, I can see the waves in it of the density differences.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I didn't think, because you're really hesitant to throw an ice cube in a glass of bourbon typically. So that's why I saw the hesitation. That's why I kind of pushed it upon you, and I think it was worth it. So
yeah.
We talked a bit about the Richback says 1 cube does wonders for most whiskeys, just like a little splash of water for a lot of them too, especially the hotter ones. 100 proof, not necessarily, something that I would typically do, a dash of water to proof down or anything like that to open it up. But this is definitely one of them that I would see a benefit to. Not saying it's bad and neat. So we can talk about that. So Nate, for you, whiskey, cigar, and the pairing out of 10, this is where in the first part we do the pairing of the whiskey and the cigars, 10 being the best. You have 3 ratings. So of the whiskey, 10, cigar, 10, and then the pairing together, 10.
So the whiskey, neat, not counting the price, I would be more like in that 7 range. Putting price in there, more of an 8, because I think it is a good value. Just have to kind of get past that rye, spice, and oak finish that it has.
Yeah.
Which could turn some people off, but it is very tasty. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of it the first time I bought a bottle, but I ended up buying a second before I finished the first.
You bought the second before you finished the first.
Yes.
Okay.
I bought another bottle before I finished the first bottle.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's definitely a value, I think.
Which turns you on.
Easy. No, I mean, it's a $22 bottle, so it's not like you're breaking the bank. And if you've never had it and you spend $22 on it and you don't like it, you're only out $22. You can find a friend to give the bottle to,
Right.
Or you make a Manhattan, or you put an ice cube in it, whatever. The cigar, I'm gonna be 7 on the cigar.
Mhm.
It's got a good flavor to it. The flavor's not overwhelming. It doesn't. It's not a complex smoke, I don't think, except for the retrohale. It's kind of one dimensional throughout
Yeah.
the cigar. Once you obviously get past that shaggy foot,
Mhm.
it becomes a one dimensional smoke. It has a good flavor. It's just not a great deal of flavor. But again, it just like with the whiskey, like by itself, without price, probably a 7. You throw the price in there, it bumps it up a little bit because it is a good smoke for that price. As far as the pairing, I give the pairing an 8 because I think the sweetness from the sweetness at the front for the whiskey kind of helps balance out some of the spice that I get from the cigar.
Yeah.
And it also helps prevent that cigar from kind of drying out my palate a little bit. So I think they don't necessarily enhance one another, but they kind of balance each other out.
I got you. Yeah, the whiskey, I'm going to say, with that one ice cube, it makes it much more enjoyable for me. But Sean, you're nodding back there.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, go ahead. Hot mic.
Remember to speak into where the tape is.
Right.
So.
Thank you, Nate. No, the whiskey was I purposely kind of swished it around my mouth and just let it sit there, and then didn't drink it for like maybe 5 minutes, and it never went away.
Yeah.
It just sat there.
Yeah.
I noticed that too. The longer it sits, the longer that finish.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you have that, and then that ice cube really just kind of smoothed it out, and it's a lot more. I mean, I can drink it like that. It's not like the harshest of whiskeys of where you like there's a bite at the end. There's not really that much.
No.
It just lingers, like you said. The cigar, I mean, I'll give that an 8 as well. I mean, just for the price point alone, I was shocked when you said it was only that much.
Yeah, $6. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's great. Yeah, so I love that the retro hail really brings out the flavor in it, and yeah, it's kind of I would say plain Jane cigar if you didn't retrohale it. So if you just kind of mix and match, you just get a little bit of all around the different ways of getting the flavor out of it. And I'll give an 8.
Nice.
I'd say with a bourbon or with the whiskey, I'm sorry, after the ice cube 8.5, and then together I'd probably say an 8.5. So
Yeah. So for spending $22 on a bottle and $6 on the cigar,
yeah,
you're your own cheap date.
I
Really.
may come back
at
and
that
get some
point.
more Kung Pow, Steve.
Yeah. All right. So I'll give the whiskey. Drinking it neat, even with price point, 7.5. I think it's a decent bottle. I'm not expecting to be blown away. I think I recall the first time I tried this, and I was surprised by it because of the novelty and everything else, because I had heard good things about it and tried it. I don't think it was the first whiskey I had that evening. So I think I tried something else and then tried this one. So that's not really a fresh palate, right? So I liked it, I think, more the first time. And so then the second time when Nate was referring to or alluding to that I had a bottle as well. It's like a whiskey. If you just crack it and you drink it, you don't really feel bad about, killing a quarter of a bottle, just kind of chilling. You know what I mean? But now that I know you throw an ice cube in there, it tastes better. I would bump it up to 8+.
Okay.
That would be something that if I, was looking, I walked by and I just needed one more, like, inexpensive bottle for the bar, probably buy that. And then typically when I would drink it, I'd throw like one little ice cube or a dash of water in it, and I'd enjoy it a lot more. The cigar, again, price point included, I'd give it a 7.5. You know what I mean? And again, I think that's a good rating for a $6 cigar. I mean, it's a solid cigar. It's better than a lot of, like, say, higher end bundle cigars, if you will, that are in that $5 range. You know what I mean? $4 or $5 range. So if I was looking for something that has a fairly unique flavor profile and not break the bank, $6.50, depending on your tobacco tax, where you're at, this would be something. When I say 7.5, it's not a bad rating. It's just, I'm not expecting to be blown away by complexity on this cigar.
Well, it's $6.50 for a Toro. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
good length
exactly,
smoke.
exactly.
It's not a Robusto or something like that. Like it's gonna
Right.
smoke for a while.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that the rating, the 7.5 for me, I've talked about a bit on this first part of the episode is the construction. So I mean, the draw is really nice. It's got a good weight to it, but the flaking ash is something like, I mean, I've got like sprinkles down here while I'm smoking. I can see like an ember go down there. So I mean, if you do that, you're hanging out. It's like you're kind of by a campfire. You know what I mean? You got to kind of watch out for the embers. So again, I would not give that a 2 thumbs up for driving cigars. And as far as the combination, 8. I mean, this again, balling on a budget. We did that kind of an episode a long time ago.
Yeah, it was like the first year.
This is something that you can definitely ball on a budget. I mean, again, $20 bottle more or less, and then you have a $6 cigar. It's not a bad pairing. It's not going to have a bad. It's not going to leave a bad taste in your mouth when you think that these budget bottles, budget cigars, might kind of linger like it, the next morning and all that stuff. I don't think that's the case with this one. I think this is it's a fine pairing. I think these guys are punching, both of them punching way above their weight class as far as price point. I think that this bottle could be, $50 like you were talking originally. I don't know about that.
I think when I see some of those retailers that are trying to sell this bottle for $50 and up, like they're just trying to catch on to the latest thing, the newest thing, and they're hoping that it's going to be so hard to get and so rare that someone's going to be willing to pay $50 or more for this bottle.
Yeah. And I'm sure someone has. I'm sure, I mean, the exclusivity at one point, I mean, that definitely brought some people out to buy it, or else they would have been doing that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, the first time after this first came out, it was one of those you had to, wait for the truck, or you had to wait in line on a Saturday in order to be able to find it. And then all of a sudden I go in there and I see this on a Saturday. I'm like, oh, you guys actually have that. I'll take a bottle of that. Mm-hmm. It's like, glad that's at least left over from today. And Lay's like, no, that's left over from last Saturday. Yeah. Like, oh, so people have already gotten over it and moved on. Gotcha.
Completely different. I mean, I know it's not the same even close mash bill really necessarily, right, to say like Weller Special Reserve, but I think it was kind of in that realm as far as the desire to have the bottle for that cheap price point. You know what I mean? $20-some for a bottle that's decent, that you don't see all the time. So when you see it, you have to grab it.
I'll take this over Weller Special Reserve any day.
But point being is that at least in Ohio, I see Special Reserve on the shelf. The Antique 107 at the $50 price point is gone already. But they may not be getting as much, but I see that being grabbed way before the green label, the Special Reserve. This might be kind of fall into that same category, that once it's now available, you're not grabbing it every time. Yeah. So it might sit there. So,
or if you go to the store and what you want, they don't have, like, oh, well, this is a good backup.
Sure. Absolutely. And with that, I mean, I think it's a good pairing. So like I said, I think those are the ratings, and we want to thank you guys for being a part of part 1 here. If you're listening to the audio, make sure you click on part 2. And then I do want to thank our sponsors here. First and foremost, you guys, I'll throw it out there, patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. You guys can contribute. We appreciate that. We'll set this up when I think we're going to pull another chair up here for part 2. And in the meantime, I'm going to grab one of those raffle prizes. I'll bring up the Patreon page, and then I will have our third person that's joining us pick a number between 1 and whatever it is. And we'll have a first winner on a raffle for being Patreon supporter. And then also Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. They have the Punch Kung Pow. Again, no sale on it necessarily because it is $6.50. So a percentage sale is not really going to save you a whole lot. So just come. Yeah, $1. If you're not in the area, we can definitely ship you something, and they'd be happy to do that. Altadis USA, we got the Upman Nicaragua from AJ Fernandez. They collaborated with him on that one. That's our next cigar for part 2. And we appreciate the support from Altadis, and then Monte Cristo, Romeo Julieta, H. Upman, like I said, Butera, Trinidad. That we had that new Trinidad a while back. That was really good. The Espiritu number 2, fantastic cigar. And then Cigar Company, gold and silver in stock. I just talked to Eric Espinosa today, ordering some more of the big silver. So that's coming out of the Zona factory. And then also the gold is I'd say that's the Gold is a top seller at Tinder Box at Easton, and that's going to be coming out of Placencia. So that's more medium body, which is probably why it's a little bit more popular. So, but thank you guys for the support as well. With that being said, let's if you're listening live, stay tuned. We'll come back here in about 5 minutes or so. We're going to get going. We're going to stream live here as we get through the intermission setup, and I'm going to look at that raffle prize. And then as we get into part 2, I'll announce the raffle winner. Cheers. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Hope you guys had a great week. All right. I'm going to pick that. If you want to hook up a mic.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, for this part 2, if you are listening live and you want to go ahead and throw us some topic ideas, we already have some, but it's kind of one of those open discussion nights, and I'm looking forward to it. So go ahead and throw some of those on the comment feed. It can be anything going on. It can be bourbon related, whiskey related, or it can be just, again, life topics. This is where we get in the life topic part of it. So definitely throw those on the feed here. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, he's at least still got that mic.
Yeah.
If you want, since you're the only one in here, like you can just put that mic on the ground right there by your chair. So that way you don't have to keep getting up every time. All right.
That's going to look like it's rigged if we call one of you guys in the garage. I know. Yeah, go outside.
Should I pick the number?
Walk around the court.
I did it. Finally won.
So earlier when I joked about, do they have to be present to win? Maybe it should be cannot be present to win.
Just drive back over here.
We'll text you.
All right, let's see here.
Wait, Freddie, there's a Wild Turkey Master's Keep rye. I know there's the Master Keep. That's a very, very expensive bottle, and there's a rye now. Oh my gosh, what was that, like $250? Good Lord.
So how many we got here? Let's see.
Oh, and then
All right.
Ryan's asking you, what do you think about Andy Dalton going to the Bears?
Ryan Jones, Tracy Conger. I'm pretty sure that's Sonny. He says you both are so damn sexy. I don't think Tracy's saying that.
I don't see that comment. Do I need to scroll? No?
I don't know. You may have to be friends with him. I don't know.
Ah.
All right. So we're gonna do this, and I'll have Sean. You pick the number. How about that? Okay. So currently, again, we're still kind of in the infancy. We appreciate it. We've had people come and go on the Patreon page, do some one-time donations. Every little bit helps. But right now, we have 19 active Patreon members. So hopefully we can up that a little bit. I'm going to move that screen back here in a little bit. So what I'm going to do, and these are not in alphabetical order or anything like that. So pick a number for between 1 and 19. You are going to get, I don't know if you can see these very well, but these are H. Upman glasses, whiskey glasses, and they have the rests.
The cutout in the top.
It's got a cutout in the top where you can actually rest a cigar on there. So a little different, and actually I think a little bit easier to use than some of that
ones that are side cut. Yeah.
So set of 2 whiskey glasses, H. Upman. Thanks to Josh Bentley and the lovely people at Altadis USA. If you're not in town, I will make sure to get this out to you hopefully in the next week or so. But this is how it's going to work, and we'll be doing these at least once a month. We'll fix that later.
Do you like me to try them out before you send them out?
Unfortunately, I can't send them with something in it. So, Sean, get on the microphone there.
Probably should unmute Shannon.
Yes, that'd be good. Pick a number 1 through 19.
3.
3. Sean Hurley.
Like, what?
Sean thought he picked himself.
Sean Hurley, and Sean has been a Patreon member. Looks like since October. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6 months.
6 months. and he is at the $25 tier. So
Nice.
Sean,
Very
well
nice.
deserved.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Sean Hurley. If you're not listening tonight, I'm going to go ahead and email you tomorrow. Or Tony Barbuda says, "Hey, Hurley, yeah, exactly." So I think Sean's in California, so I don't think he's going to be picking him up here. Pretty sure Sean's all the way out there.
Ain't nothing but a drive, brother. Come on.
Nothing but a drive. All right, you
Yeah.
take that on your next camping trip. How about that?
Yeah, I'll drop them off.
All right, you guys talk for a second. I'm going to move this back.
I can meet him halfway in Montana in June.
Is Montana halfway? I guess if he lives in Southern California, it'd be close to halfway.
No, northern.
Yeah, no, Northern. He's getting the better end out of that deal.
Mm.
But you probably wouldn't mind. Like, go to Montana. I'm already out there anyway.
Yeah, we'll just keep on moving.
I always joke around. I remember saying this to a guy that was in the shop a couple years ago. This guy, he happened to be in town. He's got family in Montana. And I was like, I always joke around with people that if I ever won the Mega Millions or something, you'd never see me again because I'd just buy a bunch of land and move to Montana.
Yep.
And he's like, oh yeah, that my dad's got 3,000 acres and 400 head of cattle in Montana, and that's my retirement plan after he decides to, retire from that. I'm gonna move out to Montana and take over that part of the family business. I'm like, well, what do you do now? Oh, I'm an anesthesiologist. I'm like,
Wow.
So me and Sean have a buddy that lives in Bozeman, Montana,
yeah.
and he sends me pics about every week of just some of the most beautiful, epic scenery.
This
It-
guy,
it's
this guy
insane.
showed me a picture on his phone, and so he's got his two boys standing in the foreground, and way out in the background you got mountains, and he's like, so you see those mountains like all the way back there? I'm like, yeah, the ones that look small but they're probably huge. He goes, yeah, we basically own everything from where we're standing to there.
Nice.
Like,
Jeez.
gee.
Christ, very nice.
It's like, do you need a ranch hand?
Sign me up.
All right, let's get cozy here, boys. Ian says, Montana's a beautiful place. Tracy, again, I think that's probably Sonny saying, hi, Shannon.
Hey, Tracy.
Can they confirm or deny which one it is using that account?
Probably not. You guys ready? Just going to throw some stuff at you here.
Bring the pain.
Let's go. I might need to use one of your lighters too, by the way. Mine's out.
Okay.
And
Here, just keep this over there by you. I got another one with me.
cool. I've got like 4 in the garage, but
Fine, I'll just put my lighter back
Well, now all three of
over
us have
here.
one.
okay.
Says the guy who's got tobacco in his beard.
Oh,
That's embarrassing.
it's a manly beard. Gets out into the
It's
woods.
not
And,
manly if you have to say it is.
yeah, just a wee bit.
Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 161, part 2, kind of the Beyond the BS thing. We got Shannon joining us. I'm Steve Crane. Shannon Chapman's with us. Nate Hale as well. And then Sean Wilkinson, who's been on the podcast before. He is behind the producer mic tonight. So he's kind of the fourth voice, and you're welcome. You don't have to see him if you're watching this live. But sorry, Sean. Yeah, you might do that. Yeah, so thank you to our sponsors, patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. I do want to say, if you guys have not been watching the live feed tonight and you're listening to the audio for part 1 and part 2, this is the first time we did a live drawing, if you will, of the raffle prizes for Patreon. And Sean Hurley is a $25 a month tier member, which is, I'm blown away by the support. It's a huge help for us. And Sean Wilkinson was the one that picked a number for the amount of patrons we had, and Sean was the one that won it, and he won this month 2 whiskey glasses. You guys cannot see that very well on the camera, but 2 whiskey glasses. H. Upman. It's from our sponsor, Altadis USA. Josh Bentley was nice enough to give us a handful prizes that we had talked about a while back. So we might be getting some more from either them or another company here going forward. But we might, depending on how many we have, we can do more frequency. But I'll get that out to Sean and contact him tomorrow. But yeah, that's another perk of being a patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast member. We're going to get some more swag. We keep talking about that. I am talking to a new t-shirt vendor. Unfortunately, our t-shirt printer was, his business was basically, he couldn't survive through this last year because he does a lot of school and sport, programs, small printer in Johnstown, Ohio. And he had to sell his equipment and couldn't afford the rent after the shutdowns and everything else. So, shout out to Todd for being such a big supporter and helping us out. He was the one that did this BS throwback shirt I have on as well as one of my prototypes. And so he was so easy to work with, and hopefully sometime down the road, he'll be able to reopen and get back into that because that's kind of a passion of his. So support your local businesses is kind of a side note there. Not only we appreciate the support on the podcast, but with all of this stuff coming through, there's going to be some businesses that you didn't think about that didn't even survive until you go back to them and say 6 months later, like, hey, I'm going to need t-shirts made. And they're like, oh, dude, I'd sell everything. So look out for those guys. Hopefully we won't have as many going forward.
Will our patrons be able to win more than once for this set of prizes that we have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It is an open drawing. Sadly for you guys, good for us if we have more patrons, but sadly the more people that do that, but it might be able to, if we get more, double it from, we're at about 20 or so now. If we get to 40, 50, it's amazing. That'll provide us a lot more opportunity to do bigger things, not only for them, but also that'll alleviate some of the things if I have to go to a more expensive printer or whatever it might be. So yeah, definitely a big help with that. So something fun for you guys. Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. They provided the Punch Kung Pow. Thank you very much. Altadis USA. We just mentioned them. We've got the Upman Nicaragua as well tonight. So thank you, Josh, and everyone at Altadis USA for that cigar. And then also Cigar Company, the gold and silver are now available. You can contact the podcast, contact Cigar Company through social media, or you can contact Tinder Box at Easton as well. Kind of the synergy, everything working together. Part 2 is where we kind of get into different things. I'm going to kick it off with, we've got some stuff from the Bourbon and BS community page. Thank you very much. But one of the potential topics, and this can be a full-blown episode if you guys want at some point, but enough is enough. Let's move on already.
Okay.
Enough is enough. Let's move on already. I mean, whatever it is in life, but we're now March, almost April 2021. Everything seems to be moving forward to a point, but there are some people that are still stuck in 2020. And they're still stuck in all this shit that, like whatever the drama is. And I'm not saying any of it's, like we always say the disclaimer. It's not that I'm like belittling anything as far as COVID or the politics or any of the causes that are happening, but it's like we've in a good way and also possibly a bad way. I think we've opened the floodgates on stuff. And I think this happens when, you lose a job or you have a health issue or whatever it might be. We've talked about all those things on this podcast before, but enough is enough. Like let's time to move forward. I mean, this is, I think, a critical time where there's so much hate. There's so much divide in this country and other countries, but across the world, just, you got to play the game to a point. And in my opinion, if you stand up for something, go all in, but don't just keep harping at it, and holding on to things in the past. You have to start to not move on necessarily, but move forward. So I don't know, wherever you guys want to go with that one.
I think sometimes when it comes to the stuff that's happened over the last year, there's a lot of people that get burned out because they're just so gung-ho about whatever the issue is, and they just go full throttle, and they go full throttle for so long that they don't have energy for anything for anything else.
And there's nothing left, right?
Yeah, there's nothing left in their tank. And then if they're constantly harping about something, whether it's the same thing or a different thing every single time, eventually the people around them that are listening to them, they're going to get burned out from hearing them.
Yeah.
They're like,
no, 100%.
I don't, no, I'm done with you. I don't want to talk to you because you're stressing me out, and I came here to relax.
Well, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. I'm a barber, so I'm at the shop all the time, and I've noticed the conversations have changed from all the political stuff to back to everyday stuff. So like life, kids, family, what they're getting into for the weekend, all that political stuff is kind of falling off.
The
which
stuff
is
that should
good.
have a higher priority in individuals' lives.
Exactly. It's such a fresh, like, I'm not never on pins and needles when I'm in there talking to people, but it's just not a forefront issue. They don't even talk about COVID anymore. Now it's all everybody's talking about their shots they're getting. It's been nice to see a lot of our seniors coming back, so that's a good thing. We get to see them. They're coming in. I love talking to them old dudes, man. They have so much knowledge and life experience and crap they've done that I would never do in my life. You know what I mean? And talking to dudes that was building like radio towers in Vietnam or World War II or just whatever, just crazy stuff. And that's the stuff I'm so happy to get back to, just learning about people's lives and their daily routines and what makes them tick instead of all the crazy nonsense out there.
With your industry, just like, you know, I'm sure with Steve being in the cigar shop every day, like you can have a multitude of customers coming in, and if they're all talking about the same thing, even though this person's talking to you about it for the first time, it's not the first time you've heard it, so you get tired of it.
You're on number 20.
Exactly. So every time with you in your profession and even in the cigar shop, like every time you have a customer that comes in and they're talking about like how they're doing, it's still a different topic. Like it's still something that like you're not necessarily disinterested because they start talking about something. You're interested to hear what they have to say and what's going on with them because they're a different person. They got their own shit going on.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was consuming. I do want to throw up Kevin Landers throws out there. Positive attitude can get you through a lot. Focus on what you can control. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, that's the whole thing. And yeah, focus. But yeah, what you can control is different. And I think that's where I'm saying about a lot of this stuff is that whether you didn't get a job or you lost a job and that's out of your control, whether you lose a loved one through death, divorce, separation, or whatever it is, you find yourself liking someone or liking a job, trying to get a job, whatever it might be in life. You want to get that house. Right now, the housing market, especially here in Ohio and across the country, is crazy. It is a seller's market, and it's the buyer's nightmare. You're putting too much money towards it, and then you're likely not going to get it. So I mean, all these things, those are out of your control to a point, especially once it's done and it's over. You didn't get the house, you didn't get the job, you didn't get that girl's number at the bar, whatever it might be, you know what I mean? But you have to look at it as you have this kind of abundant possibility going forward, and there has to be this positive attitude that Kevin's talking about. You also have Ian out there throwing out some Star Wars quotes. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. I'm not going to say it like Yoda. That's
Come
all
on,
I can really
man.
do. You go ahead.
Steve doesn't have enough base, or Steve has too
I don't have
much
enough
base.
base to
You have
do Yoda.
I'm sorry.
He's
You have
over
too
shaking
much
my
base.
glass.
I was going to say I can hit Darth Vader if you want me to.
No, Sean, you don't need to do it.
My glass bourbon is shaking like the T-Rex is coming through every time you talk.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. No, but I think that is something that, and thank you. That we can move on to the next one. I think that is exactly kind of where I was getting at, is that the shit's still going on. Now you're talking about the vaccines. It's
Now here, have you seen this lately
right.
with the
Show me,
vaccine
see it.
shots?
Go ahead.
that
Go ahead. Yeah.
All the people that were kind of like taking it very easy and cautious about their lives, not doing a whole bunch of stuff. Now I keep seeing all these photos of people that have gotten their shots. Now they're at the bars doing shots to share the shots.
I haven't seen that, but it doesn't
I've seen a
surprise me.
bunch of those. Oh, really? I've seen a lot of those out. They're out enjoying life again, and which is cool. So
I hope it is not a false sense of security. And we know what we know. They know what they know. But the people that have been following all this stuff the entire time, the guidance to a T, to a point based on that day or what they last read, and then it changes once they either they read something else or Fauci says something different or whatever their news station or their Twitter feed is saying. they follow that. So hopefully it's not just a false sense of security. Hopefully it is a safety thing. But yeah, there's a whole lot of benefits to the vaccine that, in my opinion, are not just health related. There's so much emotional and mental health issues that this vaccine is going to help from a byproduct, I feel. Go ahead, Sean.
I just kind of, when you guys are talking about it, it's just a breath of fresh air, because like you said, what you said, Shannon, where I work, people are just talking about, like, they're excited about going out and doing things. Like, we're going on vacation in June, we're going to the Outer Banks. Like, I never thought a year ago if I would ever be, when I'd ever consider doing that. And now it's not just, you know, me, but just a lot of people are just looking forward to things that they, and I think people are going to have a deeper appreciation for life in general once they can get back to some normalcy, that have stayed true to the COVID and staying home and being quarantined and all that shit. I think you'll learn to appreciate life a lot more, you know, just
Let's hope.
Well, yeah. And
that's the positive attitude right there for sure.
I get my shot on Friday at the Schottenstein Center, so I take a picture. I do a shot in front of the Schottenstein.
I heard that's a very, like, they have their stuff together down there. It's like an assembly line. Boom.
Yeah, they don't
boom,
mess around.
Boom.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so I've registered to do it at Discount Drug Mart, but I haven't gotten the actual schedule yet because I kept going on the other ones, and it's all backed up right now. So, and I'm doing it because the first day that it was available to my age bracket, both my mom and my brother sent me the links to it. And I'm like, all right, I got it. I may not be able to go to Easter because I may not get it or whatever, and I'm not even going to get into that part of it. I think, again, that is enough. We got to move forward. If you're going to get the shot, get the shot. If you're not going to get the shot, don't get the shot. That's your business, in my opinion. And I'm not going to get into the ethics of it as far as, you know, people like that are really, you know, saying it's fine that they have that opinion of it. But if you're worried about it, still wear a mask. If you're worried about it, stay, you know, be around people you want to be around that you trust. Don't just, you know, go out there, and stay distance. That's fine.
Well, we've moved down to 3 feet now, so we're heading in the right direction.
Doesn't make sense. Don't get me started on that shit.
Well, I know I've had someone coming in the shop before, like even during COVID, they were still coming in the shop and wearing their mask and everything like that. They still do when they come to the shop, even though, well, it's still a mandate in Ohio, but they got their vaccine. But every time that they would come to the shop, you know, on a Saturday or something, if it's a gorgeous Saturday, doesn't matter what the temperature is. So if it's a sunny Saturday, Easton's going to be packed.
Yeah.
And this person will walk in and be like, oh, it must be a whole lot of people that got the shots. Like, so you don't think these people should go about living their lives, that they should all do your thing? Like,
nope.
Okay.
I'm trying to answer you back, Steven, but we're smoking the Punch Kung Pow right now.
Yeah, I don't want to just dive down in the specifics, Dan. I'm not trying to shut you down. I just don't want to. Yeah, we could have a whole episode on the vaccine and COVID again. I think it's just, for me, it's more like enough is enough. Let's start moving forward, and don't carry over this bullshit from 2020 as far as opinions on politics and everything else, and apply it to every goddamn thing that you see. Right? Like, stop it. You're grown adults. Act like it.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. Sorry.
All right. What's next, Steve?
Act like an adult. Not you, Nate. You do. I'm not. Jesus. All right. Austin Mayberry. How about taking an appropriate amount of time for oneself? Nate followed up with, Austin, I suck at that. Austin says, Nate, I think most of us do, honestly. So Austin was tuning in from Florida right now. He's in, I think, Fort Lauderdale. He's on vacation, which, mind you, I'm not going to say Austin in general, but Florida was such a topic of conversation in 2020 about being this hotbed. And if you asked anyone, if they're like, yeah, we're leaving town, like, where are you headed? Let me guess, Florida. They're like, yeah, how'd you know? I was like, just because.
Let me tell you.
I don't care if you're far right, far left, or somewhere in between, like the majority of us, but you're all going to Florida.
The last 2 months, I promise you, probably every third person I cut was heading to Florida.
Right?
Tampa, Sarasota, you name it, they were going. I'm like, good
My dad
Lord.
and stepmom just got back from Fort Myers.
There you go.
I'm just saying, like I said, it didn't matter what your political agenda was. You could talk one way out one side of your mouth, whatever it might be. If you were going somewhere in 2020, it was Florida. But don't worry, we're driving. I don't care how you're getting there. But to Austin's point, you know, taking an appropriate amount of time for oneself. That's for me, Austin. That was kind of. I did have a vacation planned. Unfortunately, got canceled. Shannon's going on the said vacation. I should have just gone. Another story altogether. However, that has been kind of my whole thing with these morning walks, or you know, I've gone in the afternoon as well. Nate, I know you've done those as well.
Mhm.
I saw several other people like Freddie Burt doing them on the community page. Shannon's doing them out there. DeSalin, who was on the podcast couple, this was cool. I didn't share this with you, I don't think, Nate. So the next day, DeSalin FaceTimes me.
Okay.
So I pick up and he's got it. He's like doing this, like he's running. And he's like, man, you got me last night, man. You got me. I'm out here. I just want to show you and all this stuff. So it's like, you know, we all feed into each other. You know what I mean? We fuel each other. And so I think that was something really cool. But you have to take the appropriate amount of time for oneself, as Austin said. And it could be a vacation. It can be, you know, going to the gym. It can be just meditating. You know, we had this Shannon, like I said, was over, and Sean and a couple other people on Monday. Shannon was in the middle of the day. You weren't working anymore that day. And you're just like, hey, we want to find a patio. And I just talked to my buddy Sonny, who was also on the podcast recently. And I was like, well, yeah, how about my patio? And you're like, perfect. And we were there until nighttime. Minus a run for
T-bones, baby. Come on.
All the meat.
All the meat.
There was not a whole lot of room left on that.
Hey, we
grill.
bought out the butcher, so it's all
Yeah, that's
good.
right. And I feel guilty. I'm going to do better next time. I think I left mine just a little bit too long because we were talking, and I had 5 massive steaks on there, and I was just like, well, maybe it needs like an extra minute.
Bro, they were perfect.
No,
Don't
they were not perfect. Next time they'll be perfect.
Nah, the reason I made that comment to Austin is I take so much pride in my work. I hate passing it off to other people. I found out when I had my yearly review that one of the reps that I support, the number of customers that we quoted was 30% of our entire company last year.
Oh.
So 19 sales reps, I got one rep that did 30% of the work. So I have a hard time because I feel, you know, I take pride in being a part of that. But I have a hard time passing that burden to other people. Because even though it's a pride for me, it's a just a crap ton of work to pass off to other people. And so last year I didn't take my first week of vacation until mid-October.
Yeah.
So took 1 week in October and then 2 weeks in December. Still had some to carry over into this year. When I first started my first job out of college, when I was working at Battelle, I didn't take vacation the first 2.5 years I worked there. And a lot of times when my wife and I talk about going somewhere or taking time off, it's one of those like 4-day weekends or 3-day weekends or something. Like when we go down to Lexington for the Rolex 3-day horse show, take the Friday off, maybe the Monday off. So that way we have a whole day to do something and drive back and rest. But we've actually been talking about actually taking an entire week and actually just going somewhere and taking a vacation.
You should.
Just to, it's not revolving around any type of event. Just take a week to be able to do some of the stuff you want to do. Last year we were looking at going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or to Colorado. I threw out there possibly going to Florida because she had a friend, and this is before everything got shut down. She has a friend that she was in marching band with who's got a condo 2 blocks from the beach in Miami. Plus I know, or I should say Steve and I know some cigar people that are down there in Miami. So I could probably get into some of their shops or lounges.
We make that happen.
Yeah. And chat them up. So, we were kind of looking forward to that. Obviously that didn't happen, but now like we've been looking at going either just a week to Lexington instead of doing the horse show, just going down to Lexington for a week, or even Nashville.
Yeah.
Which if I go to Nashville, I'm gonna call up Miguel and be like, hey, any way I can get in crown heads while I'm in Nashville?
I'm sure you can get in there. Yeah, when Ray's, we'll get to that. Shannon, you apparently have to point of view.
Oh, I think he's talking about my little walk I did. So I started my little walks, and I do like this 10-minute walk around my neighborhood or wherever I'm at.
Wherever you wake up.
Wherever I wake up, pretty much. And
whatever couch or floor.
Wait a minute,
So
I think something's missing here. We gotta
Hey, well,
we'll get it all together here.
looks good, man.
But yes, I've been doing these things where I go for these
Nate
little
needs to
walks, and then I commit to it. And I have these thoughts when I'm walking, and I just decided to start, recording these thoughts when I walk, and they're like a 2-minute, 3-minute little discussion. But I just did this one about, it was actually off the topic when Brian Penn was here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it out there about, we all have this choices. We can either wake up and say, I have to go to work, or I have to go do this or that. And instead you wake up with the mentality that I get to. And that really, really changed my mindset about life, man. Like, not everybody gets to go to work. Not everybody gets to go see their family or go to the grocery store, whatever it is. And that choice is very powerful in your mind. It changes your mental, how you think about the day and your choices. And I mean, not everybody gets to do what they want to do.
I think it's going back to that appreciating like what you have, even though sometimes in our mind we tend to look at the negative, like I don't have this, I don't have that. Going back to being, thankful for what you do.
Well, I think coming out of 2020, that's something that was dictated or basically is put on you, that you can't go to work, you can't do this, you can't do that. So this would be a perfect learning opportunity, I think, and a transitional point where when everything was normal, we took a lot of things for granted, like going to work, like putting gas in your car, about being able to like get food wherever you want and get fucking toilet paper if you needed to fucking wipe your ass. This is something that now you get to wipe your ass with toilet paper. You get to go to work. I mean, I'm not making fun of the point. I'm literally saying that this is the time that if you didn't get it this year, you're not going to fucking get it. I think you need to realize that you're absolutely right. It's not that you have to go. You have to appreciate if you have to do anything.
Yeah.
This was a year of perspective.
Well, going back to what you were saying, Nate, about your vacations, and you don't like to pass the buck per se to somebody else, and you haven't really enjoyed your time. I shouldn't say enjoy, but take the time you should, I've always lived by work hard, play harder, and there's so much enjoyment in life out there, just going places, vacations, and not even have an agenda when you get to somewhere you're going. Just once you get there, just stick your finger in the air and just go. That's I love.
Finger.
Depends where you're at.
No, and that's one of the reasons why last year when we were talking about taking vacations to different areas, that's one of the reasons why I had actually brought up going to Florida, because my wife brought up Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and Aspen, Colorado. This would have been during the summer, so it would not have been during Aspen's busy season. But like each one of those places has like one cigar shop. The one in Aspen is a cigar bar, but it didn't open up until like 8:00 at night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd rather go somewhere in Florida where I can go to a different cigar shop every day and just hang out. Like that's all I want. I don't want to sit there and necessarily go on a bunch of hikes and do a bunch of activities. Like we can do that on a day or something. It's like, I just want to chill and relax. That's why I'm taking the time off, because,
because
I get so
when you're
stressed.
working, you're in cigar shops.
Well, my second job, but I get so stressed out with stuff that like I have a hard time trying to take a mental day. I need a mental week sometimes just to recover, because every single year something will happen to where I'll just hit this rut where I'm just a dick for a week. Like I am not in a good mood and I just stop caring about shit. and then I kind of have to bounce back and recover from that, however I can without taking time off. But taking time off helps me do that, and I just wish I could do it.
So to
when I
Austin's
needed to.
point and to what we're talking about, I agree. You know, I'm bad at it too, taking the time off. I was looking forward to this vacation. Shit changes in life, so I'm not taking this vacation. I also took a period of time, especially at my last career. There's a good period of time that I did not take any vacation. Starting at Tinder Box, same thing. Then I started taking vacations. It's fantastic. You have to do it within your means. You have to be an adult about it. I'm tired of hearing people say, like, you know, your hobby is traveling. It's like, it's not a hobby. It's something that everyone wants to do. You do it, but don't rack up your credit card doing it. That's just stupid. Like, that's not real life. It can be, that's fine. But if you have a mortgage and you have to, you know, spend money on real life stuff, like the not vacation and taking time for yourself,
Keep the lights on.
yeah, don't take for granted also in this whole thing, taking time for yourself. Appreciate again that you get to have a roof over your head, that you get to have a warm bed, that you get to have food every day. Like, those are those things that if you just take time for yourself, it's a selfish lifestyle. If it goes to the extreme, it's all about moderation. But it is also, it doesn't have to be a week. I like the week. I like the 7-day, the 2-week sabbatical, whatever it might be. But I mean, Shannon's the king of these weekend getaways just here locally. He drives, he camps out for the weekend or whatever, day or two, and that's it. It's a quick recharge. You know, for my 40th, went down to Hocking. It was like an hour away. Nice. You know, got sleeping, you know, a cabin somewhere, enjoy some time with friends, come back, go back to work.
You were away from everything though when you did.
Yeah. But I mean, that was the whole thing. Even like yesterday, this concept that Austin's getting to is appreciating. How did he say it here exactly? Because I don't want to mix his words. Taking an appropriate amount of time for oneself. If you're doing this whole thing where it's like 6 months to a year and then you take a week off, you get in that rut that Nate's saying. So you have to sprinkle it in my opinion. You have to sprinkle it in of the week long or the vacations or the ventures out of your normal situation. But there are times where you just need an hour. Just take a fucking, you know, I don't want to say waste water. I know I'm going to offend someone out there, but like, take a longer shower. You know what I mean? Take that extra 5 minutes wasting water or whatever it might be. If not all the time, but just once in a while, you just need to get out. Like when I take these walks, when we had the patio day on Monday, I didn't go anywhere. But I also didn't do laundry. I didn't vacuum. I didn't do the day-to-day stuff.
You didn't make yourself busy.
Yeah, I made myself busy with people. And even on Sunday, I sat out back and I was FaceTiming a friend and we had a great conversation. And it's just like these things that you can do, that the appropriate amount of time for yourself, as Austin is talking about. He's in Florida. That's fantastic. Those are very important if you have the means to do that.
Yeah.
And for those of you that, you know, can do it and you can drop, you know, hey, let's go here this weekend, and you don't have responsibilities, fantastic. Do it. But also the people that can't do it financially or time-wise or whatever it might be, try to find the time, save up, actually do it that way. But in the meantime, find the appropriate amount of time to actually appreciate yourself.
Yeah. So we have a crew here in Ohio. We shout out to the Weekend Wanderers. So our motto is any trip within 6 hours of Columbus. It's a good weekend trip. It's easy to get to. Still have time to enjoy the whole weekend and get back. So that encompasses Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, anything like Southern Indiana. Like, there's all these little places within 6 hours that you can bust out, camp for the weekend, enjoy nature, get out, get lost, and just chill and recharge around the campfire. That's, to me, that's my go-to. And I absolutely love it. Some of the best conversations we have, laughter is around the campfire, some good bourbon, cigars, and dude, I just live for that. Like, I do it through the winter. I do it as much as I can possibly. And my wife loves to go, and she's really into it, and that really helps. You know, she's part of it, and we just get to go and just kick it. Sometimes it's just me and her that goes out, and just the two of us and the dog, and
I love that.
we just sit back. Sometimes we don't even talk. We just hang out and just enjoy, and she'll read a book. I'll take naps, whatever it is. And, yeah.
Ray Cheshire says, simply pampering yourself, even if you never leave the city you're in. could be just as restful. And that's my point. Literally before the podcast, this is something silly. You know, Nate came over, helped set up and everything like that. I got the laptop ready to go with all the banners and all that stuff and all the information. We kind of agreed on it. It was like 7 o'clock. I'm like, all right, well, no one else is here right now. And I took one of those the chairs that, you know, Sean's in right now, and the sun was setting over here, you know, outside the garage over the houses here. And I pulled a chair over, and he's still sitting here. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy. He's like, isn't that what we're doing? I sat there for about a minute, and then like I hear him pulling a chair to the other side of the garage, and he's sitting there, and we're just smoking cigars. And it was like literally 20 minutes where I even told him, I was like, dude, I could just fall asleep in this chair. You know what I mean? Like I was like, it was just that moment. And that's what I'm talking about, is that even if you don't have a week, even if you don't have a weekend, even if you don't have a full day of nothing to do, something as simple as that is something that can recharge you and make you feel more at peace.
And that's what I posted when I posted that picture on the community page with the bottle, the cigar, and had the sun in the background. I actually said peaceful pre-podcast.
Yeah.
Like we were just chilling. We weren't really saying anything to each other, just chilling, taking in the sun. And that was it.
How beautiful is silence? Like, it's so beautiful just to sit.
Golden.
Fantastic.
100%.
It's like they always used to say in the movie theater, silence is golden.
That's absolutely right. Ian threw out an idea here. How about a meet and greet weekend BS podcast at CB Mammoth Cave? I'm not sure where CB Mammoth Cave
Mammoth
is.
Cave is in Kentucky.
Okay.
Bro, set it up, and we will come charging.
If you build it, they will come.
100%. Set the date, set the time.
I also, on the
Yeah.
side, we talked about this a while back, and now that things are starting to open back up, and I would love to do like the weekend thing like that. I know not everyone, myself included, I work open and close on Saturday, so I can't be there the entire time. But I'm kind of for this whole thing where either do a cookout at someone's house or different areas. You know, I can see it getting to the point where it's like we do a meet and greet or whatever, like at Fido by the shop, and set up a night. It's not a Tinder Box event. It's not like, it's just a Bourbon and BS community page. Hey, we're gonna be here. I'll talk to the bar owner and be like, hey, for anyone coming out here, can you give us a drink special? You know what I mean? Something like that where we get together as a community. Sean, do you have something to say on this one?
Yeah, just real
I was
quick.
going to bring up your topic next.
Okay. Just to share with like just being quiet, being in the present, being in the moment. This is probably 20 plus years ago. A friend of mine has a lake that his parents lived on up in Upper Peninsula, Michigan. And one night my buddy and I went fishing in the middle of this lake, and the stars were out, Milky Way, obviously no city lights within hundreds of miles. And it looked like the planetarium because the lake was surrounded by pine trees.
Mm-hmm.
So it reminded me of that. But we sat there for like, kind of like you guys, for like a half hour. You couldn't hear anything, especially on water. Yeah, even the nature was kind of quiet at that point. But like even water, everything sound reflects really, bounces off. You can catch everything. You couldn't hear anything. It was just the most surreal thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we just sat there and just.
Even on my walk today, it was like it was one of the things I posted on my Instagram story. It was, I'm walking through the trails out here, and just the birds were just
One of my greatest trips that always sticks in my mind. We were up in the UP of Michigan. We were on the northern shoreline, just outside of Grand Marais on the beach, camping on the beach. It was insane. It was early September. The most beautiful weather you could think of. There was about 12 of us around this big campfire we built on the beach. And there was a moment, you got 12 or 13 people sitting there in pure silence, just taking it in. And it was just
amazing.
It was incredible. I always think about that moment, and that's golden. Silence is golden.
AMC. Support your local theaters and the Hollywood community when they come back, because we all want to watch these movies.
I want to give a shout out real quick to my mom that just joined, because today she moved to North Carolina.
Yes.
She moved from Central Ohio. She bought a house in North Carolina, and she just got down there tonight.
So we'll have a Bourbon and BS community page meetup in North Carolina. Victoria,
No.
thank you for the support of the podcast, also for your hospitality in the future.
So next weekend, all right.
Next week. All right, Sean, this is yours here. So we're gonna switch gears here. We've done these Q&A sessions before, but we'll do this one. It's speak your mind, even when your voice shakes.
For that, my wife has a tattoo on her shoulder without saying. I just thought it spoke volumes.
Speak your mind, even when your voice
Yeah.
shakes. The whole saying.
Yeah, because
Yes.
it's on her shoulder. Just because when she was younger, she never did.
Yeah.
And her, her parents were divorced, and her dad really treated her like just never spoke, just put her down all the time, not physical, but just emotional and mental. And she always kind of kept quiet and submissive. And if you follow her now, she's the polar opposite of that, because she lives by what she has on her tattoo.
Mhm.
So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. In a good way. Yeah. For better or worse. As I've gotten to know Teresa, for better or worse, she is an open book, and that's amazing. I think that's the way to live life is to be honest. I've been thinking about this a lot lately as well. And there is also, I think, some power and nonverbal communication through silence at times. But to speak your mind, if you want to say something, if you hesitate based on you're afraid of what the outcome might be, that's not a reason to hesitate. That's not a reason not to speak your mind. If you don't think there will be benefit to you, especially being selfish there, don't speak your mind. Don't tell the parties at hand, or just keep talking to talk. There's sometimes the silence will be good for reflection, and it will send a more powerful message based on what the situation is. It's kind of like a peaceful protest at times, right? Where you don't say anything. You're sitting for the cause or whatever it might be. And that's something that I think is a good metaphor at times for things that happen in your life. If that other party is waiting for you to say something, and you're like, no, I am saying something by not saying something that maybe
Kind of like the active listening.
Active listening. Yeah. So it's speaking your mind by not saying anything. I'm not trying to get too abstract here, but I think that is something that is powerful, and also gets your message across at times.
I think also that goes along with saying too, and I've noticed like Teresa has kind of showed me that, and it's been helpful. Is like when people are struggling, is just to be there. Like if they're upset and they're venting, is just listen, just be there and be present for them.
Yeah,
you don't have to say anything.
We had that active listening episode as well, and I think that was we covered a lot of that, and I agree completely.
Sometimes just being an ear is more important than having an opinion, or sharing your opinion. Yeah.
So not to go to the full blown thing, like I think that too many people, like in this day and age, social media, I'm not going against the speak your mind thing. Do it tactfully, do it with what you're actually like, reflect on it. Think before you say something. So when you speak your mind, that means I'm taking it as it's not what you feel necessarily. It's what you actually feel, think, and actually have thought about. And then you speak your mind. I think speak your mind, and I'm not saying like I know Teresa well enough that that's where she's at. A lot of people nowadays, I think they're just speaking their mind, and then that means it's just like their knee-jerk reaction and how they feel that day, or what their response is from something, and they're just like, all right, I'm gonna tell you and you and you, and I'm gonna put on my social media, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. You have someone like your wife who she educates herself not only with things like the sources for the topic at hand, or the feelings that she's having, she reflects, and then she speaks her mind. To me, that's an important part, because I've done both sides of it, is that I've reflected and then talked to someone when the time is right. I've also done it based on emotion, and that's when my voice shakes the most. And I also know that my message that I'm speaking isn't as clear as it should be, because I can't.
What do you mean when you say your voice shakes?
Don't listen to talk, basically.
Yeah. Well, ask Sean.
Like in that quote, Sean. What'd you mean by when your voice shakes?
from what talking to Teresa about it is just there's a sense of passion. Like if there's something you have to say that's really could be controversial, but it's from the heart, and you're very, it's just going off of what my wife, what she went through. It's like she finally stood up to herself, or for herself,
Yeah.
and it got to the point where she finally sat down and talked to her dad after all those years, and it was ugly, but she had to tell him how she felt after all those years of being just kind of silenced.
Yeah.
And her voice did shake, but there was a lot of emotion behind. There can be emotion behind what you're saying and have your voice shaking, and obviously, and not be, yelling at someone or being, saying something.
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying if you're emotion driven, that's it. Then you're all your.
But it's more like passion. I think there's just a passion. That it's just seeing how she was when I first met her up until 24 years later, to see how she used to be very quiet and wouldn't say much to any people, and now she's very social, and she's she's not afraid to say what she feels in a correct way. You know what I mean?
But that's what I was saying though. But it took years for her to perfect that for herself. That's the whole thing. Is when the emotion was driving. That's not enough, in my opinion, to just put the gas to the floor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if you do that, in that metaphor, you're going to wreck.
No,
you're not driving safely. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there are times, I'm not saying she doesn't, or none of us do.
She has.
My point is that, if you crash and burn because all you're doing is just driving out of passion, right? Or driving out of emotion, you're not doing it in a smart way. And then everyone loses, including yourself. That's all I'm saying, is that I like that, but when the voice shakes, even after you have thought about it, she thought about that for years. I've had these situations where you want to say what you feel, and it's not easy, but at least it's the count to 10 thing, right? When you're upset or whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of just going off like that, you're like, all right, I'm gonna count to 10.
Now, there have been times where she's learned a lot. She's learned from her mistakes along the way, where she has gotten herself in situations where she lost her shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like after she's done, when she's ranting and raving, she's F this and F that. But then like an hour or two later, when she's calmed down, she'll come back to me and say, I overdid. I screwed up. But she learns from that. You know? So it's just a give and take, and there's going to be ups and downs doing this. So
I was a very emotionally driven person. I always reacted out of madness, I guess. Just, past experiences, life experiences, how I was brought up, all that plays into it. But with age and wisdom and a lot of things I've come through and learned through my life, I've learned to sit back and just take it all in first before I speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a huge asset in my life up until this point. But through my teens, my 20s, even into my early 30s, I'm 45 now, and it took me to about 35 to really understand not to react off emotion, because that can take you down some bad paths. And
what was it? Something that happened, or was it just an age and moment of clarity when you finally figured that out? Was there something that triggered that flip in your mind?
When I figured out what the trigger was, that always made me react in anger. And once I figured out that trigger, it was from my family history, my adoption. So I always had a lot of abandonment issues and anger towards that part of my life, but I didn't understand that at the time. So all those abandonment issues and all that craziness always sat right on. It was the chip on my shoulder. Let's put it that way. It was like, and I just reacted. It wasn't even a thought. I was just boom in it. F you, I'll beat you, like the whole nine, right? But when I finally dug deep and I came to that realization, that was driving all that anger. And now that when I feel that stuff coming up, I know how to stop it and just pull back and think about the conversation, and then I can have a meaningful discussion. Or if something angered me, somebody's like a dick to me out somewhere, I don't let it fire me up anymore. So yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to finding those triggers
Yes.
that drive you.
Yes.
If you can figure out the trigger, you know how to, take the next step to, I don't say fight it, but understand it and maybe deliver it differently.
The triggers are that's a big one. There's stuff that triggers you, and it's about like what you're saying is how do you react to that, right?
Yeah.
It takes a while. It takes a long time depending on the situation, but the triggers are definitely they're gonna come back. Nate, you threw one up there. Just because you're insulted doesn't mean you're right.
My wife threw that one out there.
All right, so well, you're married to her, so does this hit home for you a little bit?
No, that's just something that she feels when she sees things going on. Like there's a lot of people that in her mind she sees react completely out of emotion.
So it's related to what we're talking about.
And it's like that 4-year-old in the cereal aisle. Like they want the box of cereal that's got the nice, plastic toy in it.
Do they still do that?
Or,
I feel like it's a
very
choking
rare.
hazard.
Not as much as what they used to.
Do they have Happy Meal toys?
Yeah, they still have Happy Meal toys.
All right, good.
But like,
God bless America.
they want the box cereal because it's got a toy in it, or because it's got the marshmallows or whatever. And if the parent sits there and goes, no, either that's not healthy or there's something better, like whatever the case may be.
It's definitely not healthy. They don't put toys in grape nuts.
That's very true.
They should if they were smart. Yeah.
But no, like when the kid doesn't get what they want, they throw a fit. We've probably all been to the grocery store and actually seen a kid throw
I was that kid, I think, at one point.
Yeah, yes, Ray. I think that's what my wife meant, but I posted exactly what she said. Thanks for calling.
Ray says, I think Nate means, quote, offended.
Yeah, Ray just called out my wife. All right. Good luck to you, Ray.
No, that's the
I took
the hot topic.
I posted a direct quote from my wife, but no, like we've seen those kids that just because you don't get your way or just because you don't like what someone said, that doesn't give you the right to just sit there and start screaming at the top of your lungs.
All right, so how does that translate to grown-ups?
Okay, so
I know where you're going with that, but it's like I think you're going somewhere else with this, like with like adults.
If someone disagrees with you, that doesn't mean you're right and they're wrong, or vice versa. Just because they have a different opinion doesn't, just because their opinion is different than yours doesn't mean you're always right. How many of us can say that they've been right 100% of the time? If you raise your hand, you're a fucking liar.
Are you talking about
wow.
So would this come into like this current thing of cancel culture right now because of opinions?
Yeah, you could definitely take it down that route if you wanted to.
Cancel culture.
Yeah, they're not going to cancel culture. As long as there's people that are easily offended, cancel culture will always exist.
All right.
But like what Ian said earlier,
all right. Where are we?
But no,
where are we? Yeah.
But like what Ian said earlier,
Not
if you're easily offended, you're easily controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Because if someone can control your emotions, they can control everything else you do.
So let me ask you this. So here's a little topic, I guess.
I'm not done with this one yet, so don't go too far off the.
What's up?
I'm not done with this
All
one
right.
yet, so don't go too far. No, is it related?
I guess so. So do you?
I guess so.
So
I'm gonna say it anyways. Here we go.
Yeah, this is down the same path. So do people operate off of fear, or do they operate off of opportunity in these discussions? Because there's a lot of like I forget what somebody posted about people live in the negative world.
So I was gonna post. That's what I was gonna post there.
Okay,
I'll throw it up there on the screen there. So yeah, Brian Henson, thanks for tuning in tonight. As humans, we're programmed to think negative first.
Yes.
That's how we survive so long as a species. Carries over to reacting to whatever someone says to you. As a whole, we get defensive first before letting it sink in and taking it for what it's worth, and really seeing and hearing what people are saying. So to your point, go ahead.
Yeah, just like what he was saying there, most people operate off the negative thoughts first, and they go down a rabbit hole of the what ifs. if you can sit back and actually listen to the conversation or what's being said, there's always opportunity in every conversation of good. And I lived my life in the negative. That I was a negative MFer for the longest part of my life.
We had you on the podcast when you talked about your story.
Yeah. So now that my mind is switched to looking for opportunity in every conversation and any situation I'm put in, that's changed my life. Like, I can't even tell you how much it's changed my life. And it just opened up many more doors, and it opened up opportunities for myself to take chances. Even if I fail at it, I'll take that chance now. Before, I would never take that chance. So
I had said it before on an episode not too long ago. Like, if all you look for is the negative in a situation, all you're going to see is negative. Everywhere it comes up, no matter what it is, you're always going to be looking at the negative. If you focus on trying to find positives in a situation, I think you're going to tend to be a more positive person, because you're always trying to find the good side of whatever that situation is. You're not letting the negative completely control and drive you.
And you tend to surround yourself with negative people or people of opportunity.
Well, they're like-minded, right?
Like-minded, correct.
They're like-minded a lot of times, or there are people that are going to take advantage of you. So that was the whole thing. Is someone said, if you're emotional, I think it was Nate, that if you're emotional, you're going to be manipulated in a sense. You're going to be easy to control.
I was quoting Ian. Yeah, Ian had posted that, and I referenced.
Yeah. So, and Ray says, anyways, Nate, your entire society in the U.S., and he's from the UK. He's traveled around the world. He lives in Vietnam now. It's purely based in the U.S. If you don't agree with me, then you're wrong. I want to say, you gotta continue the conversation. I've noticed this more recently. It's getting so polarized with everything going on, like he's saying in the U.S. Yes, if you focus on the negative, there is some benefit to focus on the negative, because you can't find a solution unless you realize what the problem is. I will say that. I will give it credit.
True.
I will give it credit that you have to focus on sometimes the negative of the situation. But it can be quicksand. That is, then all of a sudden you keep going after the negative, and you keep doing that. And once you feel like that's it, that is what I say. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and they were like, yeah, no, we still do that. I'm like, okay. It was like, when was the last time you saw on the media, Save the Whales? It's been fucking forever. So my point is that now you have to move on to the next cause. You do focus on negative. There is some positive to that, because you are dialing into some of the issues, and you can't get to a positive or a solution if you don't focus on the negative. What I don't like, and that's where I think Ray's saying, is if you don't agree with me, then you're wrong. It's talking at. You can't talk at people. Stop it. You're not a child. You cannot do this. You need to talk with or speak with someone and have a dialogue. It is not a monologue. When you're dealing with emotion, or you're dealing with big issues, if all you're doing is talking at, you are not going to win, and you're just going to be pissed off. This is not the way that you converse with people. And that's how we have done it in the U.S., to Ray's point. If you don't agree with me, then you're wrong. Have a conversation. Ask some fucking questions.
Yeah.
If you know how to communicate with someone in sales, in life, or any other aspect of it, you ask questions.
I think we've all dealt with a lot of that over the last year in every subject, every facet of life. That's kind of, I think.
But asking questions, to continue my point, that's where the real movement goes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask a question and they don't have an answer, don't just think, oh, now this is where I win. I got them where I want them. Mm. But you can't talk at people. That's not okay.
It's not a two-way conversation.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You are not going to win. You're not going to grow. You're not going to actually have any meaningful rapport or solution to whatever that conversation is. And you can agree to disagree. That's fine. But if you aren't asking questions, all you're doing is just doing the verbal vomit on someone.
Well, and
I can get that on social media. I can just go on Twitter. I can turn on whatever news station I don't agree with, and I'll be like, oh, I got it. But you have to have meaningful conversation and original thoughts.
Well, and whether it's business conversation, strangers, in a relationship, just because you're the loudest doesn't mean you're right, and it doesn't mean you win. But somehow we think we kind of have this tendency that we always want to elevate and go above the other person because we think if we're louder, if we're more vocal,
or you repeat yourself,
then we're right, or we win. It's our way or the highway.
Today's conversations is a lot like Tetris, man. You're always trying to build and get on top of the next. You know what I mean? You're always trying to get that next piece in there, and like we were talking about the active listening, that's really gone to the wayside.
Yeah,
a lot of people just want to listen to speak, so they're not even caring what you're saying. They're just ready for their comeback and
waiting for their opportunity to talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at some of the comments here.
Oh, Daniel's here.
We got a late comer here.
Danielson.
All right, so here we go. Here we go. All right, so Ray, I'm it could go deep here.
Bring it.
I may have to step out for this one.
Bring it.
So Ray says, based on the recent news stories from your wonderful country, I'm sensing some sarcasm there. Why not do taking one for the community rather than thinking of your own selfish needs? And then I asked, any specific direction on the first? Ray says, I would say it could be open to interpretation, but what I was actually referring to what's occurring across the country with people ignoring isolation and curfew regulations to satisfy their own desires to be out partying. And then Janie says, Ray, we know the results, spike in cases and more deaths. We should focus on how to control pandemic and spread the science-based data. Do we want to address that?
Have we talked about COVID enough?
We have. So how can we take that different direction? Taking one for the community rather than thinking of your own selfish needs.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to take it. I think some people, not saying all, not saying me, I think some people will sit there and take it like, why should I give up my freedoms just because other people can't be responsible with theirs?
Gotcha. Here, if I could.
Go ahead, please.
If I could. Valid points. Both.
Floor is yours.
Ray and Janie, you're absolutely right. Can we focus on the fact that in the U.S., for example, primarily, and other places in the world, and I agree with this, and I'm not saying it's just this, but take care of yourself. I am tired of people being like, hey, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to start taking, going to the doctor and making sure that I'm not lying to my fucking doctor about what I actually do, just so I get out of there and not feel guilty about it. You already feel guilty about it. Take care of yourself, because when this stuff happens, we already know that there are, absolutely, with COVID and everything else, whatever the next pandemic might be, you are better off if on a day-to-day basis, you take care of yourself. What Austin was saying as far as, taking care of yourself mentally and appreciating some time for yourself. I was talking to someone that his whole family, and he's Irish, like he's here, but he's Irish. And like in Ireland, you can't go a certain amount of kilometers from your fucking house. They're still on lockdown.
I think it's 1 kilometer.
They're still on lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about my personal experience. And I know it's just my personal experience with COVID, but it's one of those things that it's, he asked, how much vitamin D do you take? How much zinc do you take? I tell him, he's like, well, that's probably why you're feeling better. In a most, and you also take care of yourself, but you might still have this freak side effects where you're going to have some further issues. Luckily, I didn't. But when I asked this friend of mine, when I was like, well, he told me about vitamin D. Do you take that? He's like, I do now. I'm like, this shit's been out there, man. Like, why is it that we have to get to a pandemic level to say, stop eating Big Macs? Don't give yourself diabetes, right? Don't take the vitamins, eat better, exercise, for Christ's sake. I'm not trying to be selfish, and we have to, when we get to that pandemic level like we are, absolutely, to Janie's point, like you have to do that. And to Ray's point, you have to do that to save people's lives if you can. But if you're just who's being selfish on a day-to-day basis, if you don't take care of yourself better after 2020, then fuck you. I'm sorry.
Well,
you have to do better for yourself, so that if you're not being healthy, if you're not making healthy choices, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not again taking vitamins, not eating well, not exercising, all that stuff, then why?
You've been saying that for the last year.
But I'm not. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to get sick. But I'm just like, why don't you take care of yourself? 365
Starts with you.
Yes, it's out there. If Dr. Fauci says, "Hey, exercise and eat better and take these vitamins," would you do it? If that's all it takes, then I'm going to tweet him. This is insane. We are out of our goddamn minds that it's like you want to hear about masks and all this stuff. It's like, how about the things that the 90-some% of people that aren't dying from this? This knowledge is out there too. It took 9 months, I think it was, before I saw the first news article about vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Sorry, that's my soapbox. I'm just saying, take care of yourselves. Hug each other with masks on or whatever. But stop ignoring yourself. This is not it. That's not it. The Western culture, in my opinion, right now, is we have a prescription for that.
No.
Do whatever the fuck you want. Treat your body like a dumpster. And then I've got a pill for you.
Yeah.
If you haven't been out and exercised in the last 6 months when you had nothing to do, that's on you. Sorry. That's on you. Get your ass off the couch and go do something. Take your vitamins, do all this stuff. Might have hit a nerve.
I can see that nerve popping out of the side of your head.
Yeah. It's my passion nerve. No, it's not. Very firm and deep right now.
His voice is shaking from the sheer power and reverence behind it.
No, I'm not. I think those are valid points. Again, when you hit that pandemic level and all the stuff, about, doing, how did Ray actually say it? Because Ray and Janny are actually on point with this. You know what I mean? Because of the situation you find yourself in when it might be out of control. I am of the opinion that based on what happened for the majority of this stuff is that, obviously the older people and then people that had health issues were the ones that were most susceptible to damage. That sucks if you are not in control of that, because there are people that have conditions that they aren't in control of.
Yeah.
Right. You can exercise, you hear the people that are like, oh yeah, he exercised, he ate well, he did this, she did this, what all stuff. And then they ended up having complications. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So we can actually hopefully stop the spread of this. But when you say taking one for the community rather than thinking of your own selfish needs, don't go through the drive-through, go for a walk, join a gym, exercise wherever you are, take your vitamins, look up what is going to help your immunity so that if you aren't part of those random, unfortunate cases where you're going to have the health complication from something, you've done everything in your power. That's taking one for the community, is live your day-to-day life in that mindset. That's my take on it. I mean, you're being selfish if all you do is treat your body like a dumpster. And then everyone else has to take care of you when you've done this. You've done this for fucking 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it is, 50 years. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I saw on the news was, and all these things, is that these are the people, they could get the vaccines sooner. If you have heart disease, if you have obesity, if you have diabetes and stuff. It's like there's two types of diabetes. One you basically give yourself. We know the game plan here.
I don't know if it's selfish if you're still just trying to live your life, and so many people will shut themselves down. And you see in studies that people that these states have been locked down for however long and the strictest lockdowns possible, there's no difference between the lockdown and people out living their lives. It's, you know what I mean? Like, there's no distinguishable science saying that one's better than the other.
Yeah.
So I've chosen to live my best life I possibly can. I still take the precautions when we're out doing things.
Yeah.
I still follow the mandate when I go into a store, and but I'm still going to live the best life I possibly can, and not in fear. Fear. I have friends that have locked themselves down for the last year, and this whole year has gone by, and they just can't understand. They'll see us out in a restaurant or something, and
see us sitting at a table shoulder to shoulder.
Right, and it blows their minds, but we're here, we're healthy, we're alive, we've been through it. I know many people have had COVID, and it's been as small as like spring cold to some have had the fever and whatever, and I feel sorry for the people that it's hit hard, but any disease is going to hit probably those people harder because of their conditions.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this is much different. I
Well,
mean,
like I said,
that's just me speaking, but
this is something I think you can do for the community. I'll say the other side of it. I'm very passionate about the side I just said, but the other side of it is play the game. I'm going to get my vaccine. I'm going to do all this stuff. Do I trust it? Not going to answer that. I will say that I'll do it because my family wants me to do it.
Because you want to be able to spend time with
Be
your
around
family.
them, right? I want to be around them. I want to be able to travel. I don't think it should be government mandated as far as all that goes, and it's going to go that route. But I'm just saying we ignored the fucking flu for as long as we did, and we didn't mandate that. So we have the flu every year, and I'm not saying the flu is the same as COVID. All I'm saying is that if you want to take care of the community, do that. And I appreciate what Ray and Janny are saying. I will also say, stop ignoring yourself. If all you have are prescription bottles and vaccines and shots and all that stuff because you've let yourself go that far, educate the youth about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a time that, I'm sure it's still out there, but I mean, I even remember like as a kid, it was like the jump rope thing. Remember that jump for your
oh yeah,
Fundraisers. Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Did that. Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was like for whatever president, Reagan or not Reagan?
it was Reagan.
Was it Reagan? He was like this whole thing where it's about like, exercise the kids and all that stuff. Do we do that now? You let them fucking sit in their fucking bedrooms.
Gym class is one of the first classes they canceled.
They canceled that because you don't need to know how to play dodgeball, but you need to do this. But it's like, yeah, you can go ahead.
It's crazy. Like
luckily though, the health thing is catching on again. As far as like diet and all that stuff, like they actually went after some of the fast food restaurants. But the problem is that if you are in the level of poverty, you can't afford any of this stuff.
Well, what I see in the barber shop when I cut a bunch of these kids, and I can see it when they come in, the ones that get out and actually play a sport and do some things compared to the ones that sit and play Fortnite, you can see the makeup, the different makeup of these kids and their mental. And the ones that are just getting out, having fun, still playing outside, playing baseball, whatever it is, compared to the ones playing Fortnite, when you talk to them, it's a completely different conversation. The ones that just sit in the house and do nothing, they won't look at you. They want to keep their head down. They don't know how to have a conversation. But the ones that are playing and doing things and just being kids and playing, they'll talk to you, and their eyes are different. There's a light in their eyes. So there's something to these kids just sitting around doing nothing and stuck playing Fortnite and all this other craziness. So we got to get the kids back out. Even adults, we got to get back out.
Yeah.
Because there's something with the human interaction. There's something of living, being outside, interacting with other humans and conversation because isolation, it's been studied. The isolation right now is the suicide rate is insane, even among kids.
They're not publishing that though. They're just talking about
right.
flirt with it.
Suicide rate, substance abuse, domestic abuse, child abuse, like all that. We've seen all that stuff go on the rise over the last year with lockdown and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's give and take. So I mean, again, I'm not saying that it was all wrong or anything like that. I think doing stuff for the community. My message is do stuff for the community, but we talk about a lot is that you put your mask on first before you help others. That is one of the things that I think can apply to get the vaccine if that's what you think is put your mask on first. But also the big lessons here is don't put yourself voluntarily through everyday actions into the health risks. And if you do, that's fine. That's on you. But this is one that you can be affected from something else out there. I don't see smoking the cigars and tobacco. There are plenty of people out there, probably not listening to this podcast, some might be, that if I if I end up at this point, not to get morbid, but if I end up, being diagnosed at some point with like mouth, tongue, throat cancer, and all those, no one's going to feel sorry for me. They'll be sad, but you smoke cigars for how many years of your life, right? But if I die from something that I die from because I'm really susceptible to dying from because I treated my body like a dumpster all around, and I'm overweight, I don't exercise, I don't eat well, I literally make daily choices, not just smoking a cigar, but I die from that, it's a life that shouldn't have been lost. That's not okay. I don't think that mentality is okay. I think you have to, if you want to be good for the community, then teach other people and get out there and go after mental health, go after your own personal health, fix yourself first so that you can actually lead by example. And Ray said most of the people with the quote, "I'm not getting the vaccine" mentality haven't even had an original thought on the topic. They're simply following the crowd they choose to run with. And what I'll say to that, Ray, is that in this situation, we are following, no matter what your viewpoint is, whatever original thought that you didn't have. I mean, you literally have been fed this the entire year. It's who you agree with. So unless you actually went to medical school and you've been studying any of this stuff for the last 50 years, you're following what you feel. Yeah. In Ohio, I saw it today on the news where they were trying to take the veto or the power away from our governor. And I actually did agree with this Democratic representative or Senate. I forget which it was, but she was in there and she's like, "We're not health experts. You're not one. You're not one. I'm not one." And she's just like going off. I'm like, that's a fucking valid point. That's a real valid point. Yeah, we should be listening to them, but to what extent? You guys are reading?
Yeah.
I asked Ian what the pork chop line was. I didn't know what that was. And he was
because Ian had made the reference that when he was in basic, there were 8 people in the pork chop platoon, which is like the overweight, as a Navy veteran here said, the Fat Boy program.
Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks, Daniel. But yeah, so when he was in basic, there were 8 people in the Fat Boy program, and then by the time he retired, there was over 400.
Yeah. You got to keep yeah, when we're all 18, 20 years old, it's easy. It's easy.
cheeseburgers are lovely.
Well, you look
At
at
18.
it in America, and I don't know the statistics, so I'm not going to act like I actually know this. But if you were a skinny kid or a fat kid in high school, you were a skinny kid or fat kid. As an adult, you're just an adult. I mean, that's it. No one really talks about it. Like you're too skinny, you're too fat. Yeah, on social media, yeah, maybe, but just around people, you're like, yeah, you could probably lose some pounds. Like,
No one's bullying the 30 and 40-year-olds out there that are
no.
because that 30, 40-year-old might actually hit you back compared to that 8-year-old.
I think this is a time that I'm gonna probably shouldn't say this, but when you praise body image, that is like, yeah, it's okay not to be in shape. It's okay not to be that. It's like, that's fine. You're absolutely right. It is okay with that, but it also comes with some health risks. If you are overweight and fat and you don't exercise and that's not healthy. It's fine. I mean, it's not a beauty thing to me, but you're not healthy. You know, my dad, passed away at 72 because he didn't take care of himself. He smoked a shit ton of cigarettes for many, many years. He didn't eat very well. He didn't exercise on a regular basis, and his heart stopped. And when people are like, "Oh, were you surprised? That's young?" I was like, me and I think everyone else were like, "Yeah, it's super unfortunate." I mean, I miss him, but I don't think anyone was surprised. And that's because we have a reality base around us that it's like he could have lived until he was in his 80s. But he passed it at his early 70s based on his lifestyle. That actually was a good run You know what I mean? And that was after a triple bypass. It was after he had to have something taken off his kidney, a growth. You know what I mean? Like he had all these health issues, and it's like, yeah, we all want to live forever, but it's like, you know, and you can work out, you can eat well, you can do all this stuff, and you can be diagnosed with some cancer tomorrow.
Yeah, that
But and that's why I go back to this whole thing with Ray and Janny. This is something that what we know of it now, I think my side's valid, and I think their side is valid, where it's like, yes, if you're being told to shut down, if it's going to slow this stuff, that's fine. But when do you stop? And if scientists ran a country and everything like that, they wouldn't have any successful businesses. They wouldn't have money actually feeding their research and all that stuff. So there has to be that balance as well, in my opinion. And again, I would love for Dr. Fauci, for President Trump before or Biden be like, hey, while we're talking about this, you know those hot buttons for who's most susceptible to this? Can we fix that while we're doing this stuff too? So the next generation isn't overweight, giving themselves diabetes and you know, they're eating poorly and not exercising. Can we fix that too? So in 10 years or whatever it is, they say 5 to 10 years, we'll probably have another pandemic that hopefully it won't be the same statistics. I just think that we're missing an important aspect of this is my point. Go ahead.
What you had said at the beginning of that made me think of a funny story. A friend of mine, his wife used to report directly to someone who ran one of the cancer labs at OSU.
Yeah.
And they were having a yearly dinner. And so the head of this particular lab, you know, was at the head of the table, and this guy, my friend's wife, was right next to him. And this other lady on the other side was like, you know, we've got all this research about cigarettes and how cigarettes are bad. Why don't we just ban cigarettes? Why don't we just get rid of cigarettes? And he's like, do you realize all the money coming off of cigarette sales are what funds your research, right? If we ban cigarettes, you're out of a job. You're out of a job. My wife's out of, like, yeah. Anyway, go. What you had said at the beginning of that, just, yeah.
Again, there's pros and cons to both of that.
What's the next topic?
Oh, jeez.
My mom hopes you keep walking after everything opens up.
Yeah, I will actually. No, that's Victoria. Yeah, there is something that as I've started leveling back out a little bit, and a lot of my mental clarity, I've noticed that this last week or so that I've taken some days off. So I think I've gotten to the point where I'm doing some more balance, where I'm not necessarily needing it as much every day. So I took a couple days off in the last probably 7 days. When I went out this morning, I wanted to go work out and then do the walk, but I was like, I need an extra hour of sleep. So I chose to do the walk, and I worked in my workout between work and the podcast. It was very refreshing. So it may not be every day, Victoria, but it will be a big part of my life. So yeah, you're absolutely right, because those are the things that get you through some of these issues in life. You appreciate, and then when things get back to normal, this is a great, in my opinion, segue to where we're at as a society. Also, all this stuff, what I'm saying is that a guy like my friend from Ireland, now he takes vitamin D, just like she wants me to take my walks. I want him to take vitamin D the rest of his life. But we all know how supplements work, and we all know how people that exercise works. I feel great. And then you see him like 6 months later. It's like, how's the workout going? I haven't done it in like 4 months. How do you feel? Not as good. No shit. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I was a gym rat for most of my life, and I basically walked away from the gym 4 years ago. Now that I'm back in the gym, trying to get back to, I'll probably never be back where I was. I'm not interested in that part of it, but just getting healthy again and peeling a few of these pounds off, and just more for the mental clarity. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. You don't have to be ripped, 6-pack, the whole nine. Just dropping those lbs to a reasonable weight changes your life, changes how you look at things. You have more energy, you have more clarity in your mind, and you're able to tackle the things that come at you a little easier. You know, life is stressful. Life doesn't stop no matter what.
Right.
And the more you can put in your backpack to take with you to fight life, it's golden, man. It's golden. I let that slip away, and I regret that. But here I am, starting back over from square one, and it sucks. It's hard. I cuss every morning, but here we are. I'll
And
keep doing it.
You cuss in the nighttime too.
Fuck you.
There it is.
All right, so let's circle back here, right? So, one of my things that I brought into this, and based on all the things we talked about tonight, and this is not quite the closing remarks, but go back to my original concept of enough is enough. Let's move forward. Because now that we've introduced all of this thought and knowledge into it, is whether it be COVID, whether it be exercise, whatever it might be, is that what have we learned to that point where it's like, all right, enough is enough. Like how far are you going to take politics in your life? How far are you going to take listening to the pandemic stuff into your life and actually apply it to how you interact with people that are close to you and also yourself? Because one of the things that I saw is there were a lot of people that I interacted with that they forgot about their home base, including themselves. Everything was, and again, not belittling it, but everything was so sensationalized that the biggest cause was outside. It was strangers. I'm fighting for strangers. And that's where Nate was talking about it, with the depression, with the suicide rate, with the substance abuse. Your home base and your social circle, your family, yourself, and your friends came last for the quote greater good. So that's not, in my opinion, not sustainable. It breeds anger, it breeds more hate, and you lose your foundation because of that. There are people that are important in your life that start with them first. Not even that. Don't lose focus on those people first. Because as soon as you start fighting for strangers, the people that are close to you will become strangers. So enough is enough. Let's move forward. We'll reintroduce that topic here before we get to closing remarks.
Well, I was going to say, kind of touch on, your first responsibility has to be to you and your house. Like if in order to take care of you and your household or whatever, you need to, whether it be work out, whether it be take time off for yourself, whatever it is, if it's kind of that mask thing that we talk about, the airplane mask, if you take care of yourself and then those that are directly around you, and I'm speaking more your household, that puts you in a better situation to then be able to take care of people,
right,
but not sacrifice yourself. So
let me throw in two things to
okay,
build off of that. Health. Everyone's worried about everyone dying from COVID or whatever the pandemic might be, right? What's your health like? Every day. That's what I've been hitting on. So you want to preach and you want to make sure everyone's safe. Are you safe? Are you healthy? Are you eating right? Are you exercising? Are you doing all these things that you want to preach to other people? It can't be a do what I say, not what I do type of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it recently about charity. If you give all your money away to charity, then you become one. That's what I mean, because you brought up those thoughts in me with that, because we've talked about them recently.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you sit there and say, oh, I got to take one for a team and I got to just stay inside, that's where we've seen, people deteriorate personally, their household deteriorate. Going outside doesn't, with what's gone on over the last year, that doesn't necessarily mean you go outside and you take no precautions whatsoever and you just do whatever you want. You can still go outside and do the things that you need to do to take care of your physical health, your mental health, without putting other people at risk, but don't sacrifice one for the other. Is kind of what I thought you were getting at with like, if you want to get in shape, you can get in shape and take better care of yourself without necessarily being a risk to other people, whether it be the mask thing or where you choose to actually do your exercise. You don't necessarily have to go to a gym just to walk on a treadmill for an hour. You can walk around your neighborhood for an hour. Accomplishes the exact same goal. One puts less people at risk.
Right.
Like, you can still take care of yourself without sacrificing other people and not sacrificing yourself as well.
Yeah.
So for our household, when this all started off with the shutdown, me and my wife decided that we were going to take care of ourselves first, but we did not want to sacrifice. So at our house, we had game nights between me and her. We made sure that we kept the house fun. We cherished the time that we had to shut down together, and we just had a lot of fun. We still to live the best we possibly could. But as the shutdown started coming out, we wanted to make sure that we could take care of the immediate people around us, as in like food places. So we lived
Yeah.
over by Pastimes and Double Barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the best we could to go out, patronize these places, keep them open, keep the servers money in their pockets the best we could. Everybody was struggling with money at that time. So, but we did the best we could, but we just kept, as everything started opening up, like our sphere of influence kept getting bigger and bigger. And we just didn't want to let the pandemic control us. And, it kept our mental clear. Like, it was very clear that the path we were on, to not get shut down in our own lives where we would bicker and fight each other, we were actually happy, which is amazing. And I mean, we were always happy. Like, we don't fight and bicker and any of that, but that could really, when you get locked in with somebody, it could really change some things. But we just kept moving that influence out, spreading the joy the best we could. Anytime we'd meet somebody in a restaurant, the server, we'd talk to them,
Yeah.
see how they're doing, and drop a little bigger tip down if we could possibly. We just kept spreading it bigger and bigger as everything opened up. That for us was our joy, and joy to us because we didn't get locked into this fear mentality. And man, I cherish that because it could be easily sucked into some stuff and some mental stuff, and then you could just be locked in your bedroom and not do anything. But I think as we go forward with everything's coming and everything's opening up, keep spreading that joy and just keep spreading. Ask your server, how are they doing? Like, have a conversation with them because they're working their asses off. They're trying to make up for money they lost, and they're probably struggling more than we could even think of. But that little conversation gives them a little bit of hope and a little bit of recognition that they're doing something good for you. And I just believe that if you can have a conversation with somebody, put a smile on their face, take their mind off of all the bullshit, all the bills, whatever the kid's going through with school, just change somebody's day with a smile. How are you? The how are you, when you ask somebody, how are you doing? Dude, that's amazing. I love that question.
Yeah.
Because like, oh shit, he's asking me, how am I doing? Like, and if it's genuine, it's not just, hey, how you
Comes
doing?
from a place of sincerity.
Yes, and people need this interaction right now because we've been isolated. We've been taken out of our element, our everyday thing. If you bring somebody back into that fold of like, they mean something to you for the service that they're providing for you, man, it could change your night. They could be having the shittiest night when you walk in that door because there's a lot of assholes out there that still just want to be like, serve me.
Yeah.
Like Jess was talking about that night at Fido's on St. Patty's Day. That dude, because his burger was 10 minutes late,
Yeah.
he wanted his bill repaid. He wanted everything for free. Go fuck yourself. You know what I
Food
mean?
was slow on
On St. Patty's
busiest
Day.
day of an Irish pub.
Right. And people like that, just, you want to drag them out in the middle of the street and just beat them down a little bit and make them realize, like, go fuck yourself. But
Let me ask you a question here
Please.
before we get in, and then we'll go to closing remarks.
All right.
So you're having a bad day,
Mm.
and someone that you don't know smiles at you. It can go multiple ways, right? You know, it's like, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm having a bad day. I don't fucking know you. Stop being happy. There's a lot of other possibilities, but the other extreme would be it brightens your day, makes you smile, right? Am I accurate there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that a lot. Go ahead.
One of the things I said a long time ago, and back in the day of 2020, a fake smile can even brighten your day. And sometimes if you do a fake smile, you're not having a good day, and someone else smiles back at you, it's like an attrition thing. Like, kind of starts beating you down. You're like, fuck, I'm having a good day now. God damn it. Not happy about it. That's what we need to get back to. And I said this a while back, is that I knew that people were going to stop remembering what it was like to see people smile.
You don't get to see their faces.
You don't get to see it. You do not. This mask mandate, there are many health risks that it's hopefully saving. Not going to get into that right now. But the biggest thing is that people, and I said this shit, I'm not saying because I'm right, but I've seen people get beat down, is that they forgot how to smile. They don't need to smile anymore. And when things started opening back up, as they call it, in 2020, everyone was still wearing masks. So you don't see the emotion. I know people that literally said in the service industry that all they did was at times is squint their eyes
Mhm.
and literally were dead face beyond that.
Mm.
That's what we need to get back to. You need to get back to that point where it's like you're actually fucking smiling and then you have an impact on people, because that's how we're like, we take it all in. We're very, very visual creatures. So, I mean,
Sean can attest to this. He's seen this firsthand with me. This is before the pandemic, before all the craziness. Going through that drive-through line, what was that, Burger King? Wherever the hell we went. Wherever I go, you know, even in the drive-through line, this is just give me my fucking food, let's go, right? I don't do that. I roll up. I try to have a conversation with
Yeah.
the person at the door or at the window. And I'm like, he rolls up, he asks for the money. I'm like, hey man, what's going on, bro? How, you know, what's life going? And it changed his demeanor on the spot.
yeah.
And he looked at me, he's like, what just happened? I was like, man, you just got to treat these people like they're fucking human.
I was literally sides.
No,
I thought he knew him.
That's what I
He
love
said-
about Chick-fil-A. They act like they know. Yeah.
I
absolutely.
literally was going through on Morse Road. I went through the Subway drive-through on my way between the gym and here, and this girl handed me my sub, and she said something, and I turned down my radio. I'm like, I'm sorry, what was that? And she said it again. I'm like, I didn't have a mask on. She had a mask on or whatever, you know what I mean? So I turn off the radio completely, and I'm leaning out the window. I'm like, I'm sorry, what was that? I already got the sub, I already gave the money and all that stuff. I thought she was saying, did you want anything? And she's like, I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And I was like, oh, and she started laughing, and I started laughing. I was like, thank you, you too. But it's I couldn't even fucking see her mouth moving or hear her say something, just being polite. And I literally drove it out of her, not intentionally. But I literally was like, I can't hear you. What'd you say? I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. You too.
Yeah.
She just started
Quit
laughing.
mumbling behind your mask.
No, I was just saying she was trying to be nice. It
Yeah.
was just these are hindering our normal fucking interactions of you being nice.
Well, you got to think, going through those drive-throughs, whatever it is, 90% of people are just shut up, give me my food, here's my money. If you take that 30 seconds, just be like, hey man, what's going on? Are you having a good night?
Yeah.
What's going on? I would appreciate that as a person on the other side. And
It can change their day and yours.
absolutely, man. I'm a full believer in that, because I was such like we talked earlier, I was such a negative person for so long. I'm like, man, I finally get it. I finally get what life's about. And just loving on people. That's my whole thing in my life now, is just loving on people, loving on them, like
Yeah.
with my whole heart. And whatever I do is not fake. It's not just to be like, hey buddy, how are you? No, that's when I ask it or say that, it's coming from my heart. And I think that comes across. Like I always tell people, back in the day, I was a very closed off person, and I'd meet you, and I had a group of friends, and that was my friends, and everybody outside that was like, F you. I don't need to know you. But now anytime I meet somebody new, I always say I lead with my heart first. I don't lead with anything. If my hand's coming out to shake your hand, that's my heart coming out
I like that.
to shake your hand. It's a real interaction, and that comes across. People realize that, they recognize that energies meet, and they know it. I hope they know it, and I will continue to live the rest of my life in that aspect.
I love that. I love that. All right, Sean, go ahead. You kick off, closing remarks, then we're gonna round it out because we've been doing part 2 for quite some time now.
Right. I'm just gonna follow up what Shannon said. Every day I'm on my way to work, or every day when I wake up, I always just kind of think to myself, whoever I encounter that day, or whoever I come across, I just kind of think to myself, do whatever I can to make someone smile or have a good day. So when I'm at work, there's a lot of new people. I'm always like right up there, like, hey, welcome. If you need anything, my name's Sean, come see me. If it's people that I barely know, I go out of my way to say, hey, how you doing? You just, because there's a lot of times, like you said, Shannon, that like people don't expect that. And when they do, they're just so taken aback. They're just like, oh, okay, well, thanks, and then down the road, you start to see them every day. They become a lot more receptive to you, and it just kind of starts to spread. So I have you to thank too, Shannon, because I remember that day at Burger King, and I was like, those people, because you were like, I thought it was your buddy or something, but I love that, and that's one thing I appreciate about you is, and I try to take a lot of that, what you do, and pass it on to other people, and it does, man. And even what the girl said to you at Subway, the smallest gestures can just go such a long way. So,
Love it. All right, Nate, you want to start?
Sure. So all the different topics that we've talked about, one of the things that kept coming back into my mind that I wrote down: stop bitching, start doing.
Okay.
So
I like that.
So like Austin.
There's a T-shirt.
There you go. There's a yep. Drop that one. Like, so Austin brought up the vacation thing. I'll admit, I've been one that's bitched about that. I need to start doing, and I recognize that. I know that. That's why I responded to Austin's like, I know I have that issue. That's the first step. Second step is actually then doing it.
Stop bitching.
Stop bitching, start doing.
Yep.
If you're talking about your personal life, like, I hate this idea that I don't feel that well. I don't have this energy. I'm in a bad mood all the time. Cool. Saying that doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
Find some steps. Figure out what you need to do in order to fix that. Because otherwise, all you're doing is bitching, and bitching's not going to get you anywhere whatsoever. Anywhere in life, whether it be work, whether it be relationships, whether it be with friends, like, complaining is not going to get you anywhere. You actually have to do something about it. And with that, you have to quit putting the responsibility of fixing that or changing that on other people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be the one to actually take the initiative and take the first step and make a change. And you making the initial step, it may not bring about, you may not be the one that actually accomplishes the end goal. You may just be the first link in a chain. I know that's something that my stepfather, who was a pastor, that's something he would always talk about when it came to evangelism. You don't necessarily have to be the person to save someone. You just have to be a link in the chain. Same thing with any of these topics. The end result may not be entirely up to you, but maybe it's up to you to get the ball rolling or just be another link in the chain to keep it going until it hits that final result.
Okay.
And when it hits that final result, you may not be the one that gets the credit or the glory. Got to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Do what you can do. Don't try and do what's outside of your view. Do what you can do, but take a step.
Sean's pulling in that whole close your remarks thing where it spurs new comments.
No. I'm just.
You kind of are.
I just want to follow up with one thing he said.
That's what I just said.
Exactly.
That's what I
Okay.
said.
Okay, whatever. When you do the change,
Don't mute him.
I wanted to just follow up what you said because I love that, and I think a lot of people when they try to do a change, they go too far. Like they go from one extreme to another.
Yes.
Whether it's eating healthy, working out. What's the first thing most people do? I'm going to go to the gym and lift as heavy as I can and run as far as I can, as fast as I can. Or I'm going to cut out all my junk food and eat perfect. And that always fails. So
You got to ratchet
Yeah,
it
that
up.
first
Yeah.
cheat meal, and you're like, nope, I'm out.
yeah. So just baby
Those
steps.
fries are so good.
You got to
Baby-
ratchet it up.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
I can get cheese on my fries. Are you serious? That's still a thing? I mean,
Jalapenos. Come on.
no, it's a good point, Sean. Absolutely. Shannon, go ahead.
I'll just impart some wisdom, I guess. with my closing remarks. So, like Steve's been doing his walks. I love them. I love seeing them. I love the wisdom that comes from that. And I always heard about these 10-minute walks, and the 10-minute walk, how it changes the chemistry in your brain on these walks. And it's only 10 minutes, but there's a guy that Rob Mazer, a buddy, he turned me on to this guy called Stan Efferding. And him and there's another guy named Mark Bell that do these 10-minute walks every day. They do it 3 times a day. Morning, after their lunch, and then if they go to dinner or whatever they do in the evening, they'll take a 10-minute walk. So that's when I started my 10-minute walks.
I love
You
it.
know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is kind of crazy, but whatever. We'll see what happens. And dude, it's changed everything, how I think. So I would suggest setting your timer for 5 minutes, walk as far as that 5 minutes will take you. When the timer goes off, walk back. And the thoughts and the clarity that you get in that 10 minutes of like a nice steady pace walk, it opens your mind. It just makes you think differently. It just makes you think about your day. I've absolutely loved these walks, and that's when I have these thoughts, and I'll just turn on my camera and I'll put them out there for people, like little brain bombs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? How to think,
Yeah.
what I'm thinking, and it's absolutely amazing what these 10-minute walks can do. And piggyback on that, just when we were talking about giving people compliments or whatever it is, changing somebody's day by like, how are you? If you're going to do that, and I suggest you do when you meet people, don't do it with the thought of what do you get back. Don't that thought should never cross your mind when you meet somebody and you give a honest, true, how are you, or how's your day, or what's going on in your, like, what's going on today. If you do it with the intention of something, you want something back from them, that's wrong. It should come from a pure aspect of love and how are you, like the basic how are you, without any return. Even if they don't answer you, if they give you a fucking sideways look like what the like, even if they say go fuck yourself, and
Say
I
thank
thank you and you move on.
You did your part.
You
No,
did your
you
part.
go fuck yourself.
no.
Have a
That's,
great day.
that's what
No.
Steve Crane would say. Steve Crane.
I'd say it
2024.
nicely. No, I'd be like, yo, it's a term of endearment.
I just believe if you can if you can get to a point where that is a genuine question from your heart. I'm sorry I'm harping on this heart thing, but
You never apologize about that.
man, I just believe when you come from a genuine place without you wanting any return from anybody you meet, dude, that's life. That's just, you're giving love, you're putting positivity out there, you're taking some negative out of somebody's life. Don't expect a return, because a lot of times you won't get it back, but you put it out there, and you never, like you said, that link in the chain, that could be that link, man. And they might change their day at work. They might not cuss the dude doing fries out. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Just that simple domino you set up and you knock it down, you don't know where it goes. Just trust where it goes.
Like that.
That's all I got.
Be a strong link. Be a strong link. Don't just be a link in the chain. I mean, you guys have that concept down pat. I think you have to be a strong link. If you're gonna get a lock, right? But you don't get like a cheap lock. You don't get stingy when you're buying a lock for something, right? That you care about, right? You're like, Nate's like rolling his eyes like,
No,
I might go for a deal.
It depends on.
Don't buy a plastic
No,
lock.
all right,
It depends on the size of the lock. I mean, it depends
Nate's
on,
over here
about
buying
size
plastic
with
locks.
you. I'm
it depends on the
saying,
size of the
hang on,
hole
hang
that
on.
the lock goes
Whoa,
through.
easy. Here I'm trying to
Whoa.
like do my closing remarks. Now you're talking about the size and holes. What I'm saying is that you want to make sure that if you are being a link in a chain, you have to be the strongest link. That's my big message from all these topics that we had is, yes, I mean, whether you're talking about COVID, you're talking about being there for people on an everyday basis. That's the whole thing. What Ray said about, doing something for the community and not being selfish, I agree completely. This isn't just a one-time deal. This is what Shannon's talking about, being there every day. What Sean brought up about the fact that, when he wants to wake up and he wants to do good by someone and actually bring in some joy into someone else's life. And when Nate's saying, I want to be a link in a chain, you have to be the most steady link in that chain, right? That's the whole goal, is that if it gets to you, then you are the one passing it on. You're supporting it the best you can. You're not just a random link that you're like, I hope I can hold on. No, you can. That was my whole thing with the lock. You buy the master lock that's got like the strongest thing, because you don't want that bike stolen. You don't want that truck to be broken into. You don't, whatever it might be, your chain link fence in the back of your yard. You don't want anyone to be like, oh, I just have these easy, cheap, bolt cutters. I'll just get through that. You're like, no, fuck that guy. He's not getting through. I think you have to really take care of yourself first. That's my whole thing, and it always is, and it's all about the balance. You could have a cheat meal, you can do all that stuff, but it's not always about health, but it's about mental health. It's a continuing education for yourself. What makes you stronger? What makes you a better base for other people? That be that link in the chain that Nate's talking about. I think that's a great concept. I'm not trying to hijack that, but I'm trying to build off the fact that you want to be the strongest link. You're not always the foundation. You might be the middleman. You might be that person that literally is having a bad day, like that Shannon's talking about, and all you were was nice. And they may even at that point be like annoyed with you for being nice. Like, Jesus, dude, I just want to fucking give you your bag of food. Just get out. Move along. I don't care. You don't care how, they just take it the wrong way. But I liked what Sean said, was that the next time you come through, you're the same person. You're asking how your day is. And it's like an attrition thing. Like sometimes you have to beat those people down and be like, no, I'm genuine. I want to know how your day is. I'm not just making small talk. And that's that whole thing with that, is that for the community, you do the best by yourself and you have those genuine intentions, and it takes so much effort. It takes a lot of effort. And that's where that I go back to the whole thing, is that if we learned anything from this year, is you have to make sure that you're healthy. And not everyone's going to respond well, but you keep going. And that's where I go back to the initial thing that I threw out there as a potential topic. And I love all this interaction from the audience. And that's why I love going off of these topics or questions. But it's enough is enough. Like, let's move forward. That's how you have to live your life. Sometimes you can get beat down. You can make poor choices, but enough is enough. How long are you going to punish yourself? How long are you going to put that burden on other people? Listen to what they're saying. Listen to who you are, and take care of yourself. If the doctor tells you that, hey, you're overweight and you need to start eating better, it's like, okay, cool, doc, I'll do that. And like, I just ate a sleeve of Oreos. You're not doing it. And who are you helping? We all know when you eat like shit, you feel bad. We all know that when you make poor decisions, you lie, you cheat, you do whatever it is in your life, on a job, you lie to your boss, you lie to your significant other, you lie to yourself, most importantly. This is the only, I'm going to skip the gym today. And then 6 weeks later, like, I'm going to go to the gym today. Yeah, you're already fucked. So that's where I look at this, is that my biggest thing is that, as always, you take care. And I saw this a lot this last year, is that I encourage everyone to start at home and then take care of strangers. Because I appreciate the people that are all for the causes and taking care of people they don't know and making sure everyone has a fair go, but don't lose your home base.
Just set your foundation at home.
Foundation first. Appreciate it. It's good. It's good. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, happy Whiskey Wednesday. Enjoy your week. I hope you're having some warm weather wherever you are. And
Congrats to Sean Hurley for their first raffle winner.
Yep. Patreon.com.
Sean, I'll test those out for you, buddy.
There might be some bonus prizes in every raffle prize, just so you know. So cheers, guys. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share, like, and review it. Thank you so much. We love seeing you